will please join me in standing for opening prayer.
Lord, we just thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the many blessings that you have given us. Lord, we ask that you continue to lead us, to guide us, and direct us. Lord, we ask that you bless the city in such ways that we would all be prosperous. Lord, that we would remain in safety. Lord, we just ask for your hedge of protection over the city. And Lord, just help us to make decisions using wisdom and discernment. Lord, that would bring you glory and honor and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll start this evening with the consideration of minutes from last month's meeting on May 26th. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Up for new business, we've got a P&Z update.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Just a quick update. Just want to let the commission know that everything we went through last month did get approved by the alderman. We've got a few items for you today, and then also Mr. Chris Watson's here. We're going to present the new architectural standards to you guys and try to talk that through with you.
We'll move on to opening the public hearing for the conditional use for the city park.
Yeah, so we are very pleased to present to the commission today the city park. We've got two requests today from the commission. First is conditional use, public facilities are allowed in any zone via conditional use. And secondly, consideration of the preliminary site plan. The property is located in C2 zone. And as we all know, it's going to be a great addition to the city. We did make the conditional use publication, a sign on the property, and to date we have not had any public comment regarding conditional use. Along with some great partners, the city has been working on this project for a long time. With that said, I'd like to turn it over to our favorite public works director, Chris Buckner, and let him present these two items for you guys.
Thank you.
Chris is right here.
Hey, how y'all doing? I guess the first one is conditional use. This is on C2 right now, and we're looking to be allowed to put a park on it, if everyone will allow us. It is on Calhoun Station Parkway, right across from, what is that, Rick's Pro Truck. We're looking to have a roughly 2,700 square foot of playground and fitness area, a pavilion with a small stage area, a terrace area, and two entrances. One would be off of Calhoun Station Parkway, and one would be, right now it is off Church Road. We are looking to get a new road off of Gluckstadt Way to not have that be an entrance off of Church Road. But we can talk about that during the site plan.
Gluckstadt Way is the one to the north of there.
PD is, yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
Awesome.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
I just don't know where Gluckstadt Way is, so.
It is where the police department is. So this is as it sits right now. Gluckstadt Way is the road to just to the north where the police department is and the daycare. Come on.
So to save time, I mean, I was going to ask questions about the Church Road entrance tonight, but that is no longer a consideration.
Well, we'll get to that whenever we do the site plan, because I do want to explain that.
Okay.
If we can, we'll do that at the site plan.
We'll do that
I
over
just
the-
don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no, we'll do it during the site plan. Yeah.
I might answer your question.
Okay.
I guess, has there been feedback about the church road entrance? Is that,
From the start, I have not necessarily wanted that entrance. I consider that more of a residential area. I really don't want high traffic going through there,
I mean,
so.
it's a park. I don't know what kind of a dead end entrance to the park. You're not even gonna get through traffic to it.
That is in the site plan, and I do have an updated site plan to show you all.
Yeah, that was one of our questions was what is the most up-to-date site plan? Because there was some discrepancy between the two different ones.
We got it late one day. There it is.
So this is the updated site plan. And as you can see, we want to put a road here. We are working with the families that own this to try to acquire a right of way right there in order to put a road in there.
And that would be an addition or instead of the church road entrance?
Well, do you want to go to there or do you want to finish?
Let's finish
It's a part
the-
of ingress egress, which is a requirement for.
Yeah, okay,
the
we can do that.
commercial use.
Yes. So what we're wanting to do is have that as a main entrance. This would reduce in size right now, as it's shown as a 26-foot easement or entrance right there. We would reduce that in size to 16 and we would gate that off. So 99% of the time that stays closed. This will be your entrance exit as well as up here. These two just don't connect. We have to have some sort of access to the back of the park.
And we'd have pedestrian access on the church road.
Yeah, so we're looking to gate this off. It would be used for maintenance access, trying to get back there when this is not available, which is rare times. The only time I could see this, that 1% of the time, is if we have a massive event and the whole area around here gets gridlocked and we have to somehow leak traffic around to get people to be able to leave. At that point, it would be, we would have officers out there, we would have public works people, if it's that large of an event, helping maintain speed limits and get things down through there. The speed pumps do a good job of that, but if they go south, there are none.
And how many parking spaces are on that?
The Westwood has 75.
So at most, if the parking lot were full, you'd be looking at 75
We're
people
looking
trying to
at
exit at
75
one time.
people, which would not gridlock this area by any means. We would have to have everything parked along, we'd have to have a very large event to gridlock the area, so.
Yeah,
I hope it happens one day, but
what were the calculations going into the parking choice, I guess? It seemed like a lot of parking given the size of the.
We didn't have any code for this. So we tried to maximize parking for the best we could with the land we have.
Cause like, I looked at like Strawberry Patch Park has like under 50 spots.
Right.
Like a lot of the other parks around town had a lot fewer. And it gives you more space for.
well, we are looking for it to be a community. So we have this open lawn back here, that we cannot touch. It is in the
That's
flood.
floodway.
So what we're looking to do is say we have a movies in the park, or we put a bunch of jumps out there and have a little community event. We would think we would utilize all that parking and have that parking. Then also, we're trying to get the German Fest going. It might have to be put here also, and at that point, we're gonna need the parking as well. Now, this, we will overload if we do German Fest here, but it gives us a starting point.
Right. Yeah, I definitely don't want to be hindered, by lack of parking and not being able to do bigger events. I just want to make sure we have more park and not as much parking lot. If we're not going to use it.
It's
90% of
it's
the
a
time.
fairly large, playground that, Blue Cross Blue Shield has funded for us. This back here is 20,000 square foot of playground area. And this is about 7,000 square foot. Once you get the obstacle course, the sprint course, and the calisthenics area, that's about 7,000 square foot.
The floodway really restricts us to the southwest.
Right.
Yeah, this is, so the floodway that's shown here with the new maps actually is right here from the edge of the pond. So it's tough. We're gonna have to reestablish right here on the edge that we didn't plan at first, just to get the sidewalk to go through there. That's part of the most grant that we got, will be the construction and rehab of the lake.
And so the orange there is like a trail or a walking path.
That's a mulch trail that we'll have through
Mulch
there.
trail.
We'll keep all the trees there. One is a buffer for the residential area.
Mhm.
And two, it's in the floodway. We can't really do anything with it. That's the best use of that area to
Yeah,
expand
I agree.
the walking trails.
Yeah, my biggest thing was if I lived over there off Church Road, I'd like an easy way to get to the park. And if that, for them, it's mostly probably walking or riding your bike over. And so as long as there's pedestrian access, I'm not as worried about that entrance being closed all the time. I
We've
just wanted to make
entertained
sure.
having an entrance for the mulch trail
I
right
thought
there
about that
if we
too.
need to. And
Yeah.
then right here, we could have a pedestrian trail to walk around.
Yeah.
The problem is if I keep it open for access for vehicles back there, other people will try to be using that
Mhm.
instead of coming through Calhoun Station or Gluckstadt Way. And I'd rather focus the entrance.
Yeah, I would hope most of those people can walk. If you do have to drive, it'd be kind of frustrating to make all that extra traffic driving all the way around.
Right.
But they're all within walking distance. So.
Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, like, so can you actually have the picture? I just want to ask a question. So you'll still have if y'all, obviously, if it gets approved, the Gluckstadt Way road will still come through. So people can still use that parking lot to utilize the park as is, but the gate you're saying would only be for like maintenance one way.
Maintenance one way.
99% of
It
the time
will
will be
be
closed on Church Road.
Big events.
severely slimmed down to 16 foot where
Okay.
it's a tighter road,
Yeah, I guess.
really to deter use. And
Yeah.
with it being gated, whether we put the gate here or we put the gate here, I would rather put the gate here so we don't have people trying to turn around in there or anything.
Okay.
And just have this as the main entrance.
Okay, I think that the concern that was brought to my attention was just like, the roads, Church Road is so narrow, you can really get 2 trucks down the road to begin with.
Right.
And so, and then the amount of, even if it is for maintenance, because you have to have maintenance entrance, how much time it would be open, which is like, Liberty Park is closed down every so often, but for the most part, it's open.
Yeah.
And so that was, I know a lot of people have just kind of brought that.
And that's another thing that I don't want. I did not want people, if there's traffic on Calhoun Station Parkway, jumping down Gluckstadt Way, coming out here, using it as a cut through.
Yeah.
I consider this residential and we're trying to deter as much.
I think it'd be smart to put
High traffic.
park signs of how to, directional signs,
Yeah.
how to get to it.
Is there any, and I'm just asking this as a resident of Church Road, is there any way to get around having an entrance on Church Road at all without having access? Or is there, I'm just gonna, people have asked, that's why I'm just trying to,
I think it's needed,
okay,
just in case. Like I say, I do not see this being used for any sort of traffic. I think it's just to have an access off of Church Road.
Okay.
If we need to access there, the guys are over there working, things like that.
minimally of the, like, open. Okay,
Well, I'm thinking 1%, 2% of the time.
Okay.
It will be open. And if the guys do use it, they'll be locking it behind them whenever they come through.
okay. Yeah. I think the biggest concern was that it was just gonna be, our road just is not, it cannot
it's not.
hold
Yes, I agree.
really school buses at this point, so having any extra additional, we just cut through church and come up that way, it'll be an issue.
And this,
So,
I do want to, this is not finalized yet. We are still in discussions with this, but the discussions are looking very good. to
Okay.
Where we can move forward with this. We just got to iron out the kinks and make sure everybody's satisfied on both sides. And along with it, we will take over the ditch that's right there in order to maintain it and keep the ditches.
And so there will be pedestrian, regardless of what they do on Church Road, we will have pedestrian access there.
Correct.
And then I'm assuming on Calhoun also to the proposed multi-use path or whatever that is going down Calhoun. They have it on one of the drawings. It may not be on this one though. No, it was on the.
That was
concept.
fire. They said they would like to have that entrance also for fire and life safety as well. So
Yeah, see, on this drawing, it didn't show sidewalks going to the multi-use path from the park.
right here.
No, on Calhoun Station.
Oh, right here. No.
No, well, there too, but on Calhoun, you've got the white multi-use north-south, and then there's no sidewalks going into the park from there.
Oh, here, that's not part of this project. That's just showing concept of what we'd like to do down the road.
So I guess pedestrian access on Calhoun Station, what's the plan?
They will access, in order to get to the playground, they would have to access park here and walk around.
But if you're walking down Calhoun Station, whenever there are sidewalks one day, Will there be sidewalks going all the way to County Station from the park is my question.
If we were to, if and when we put
Sidewalks.
more
in
views
that
trail out here,
attached.
it will connect with that, yes.
But yes, the goal is to have sidewalks all the way.
Right,
down
that's
the
part of
We
that.
have a plan for that, we just have,
Yeah,
we
not
got,
a part of this.
we got a big busy road that I gotta widen before I can
Right.
put anything right here.
Chris, if there's not, I know you feel pretty confident about the, yes, that, offer. What if everything goes south? Do we have any other option other than having the entrance on Church Road?
At this time.
Okay.
Now, I will say, if we did leave it closed, this is an 800-foot walk to get to the playground.
Mhm.
It's not disastrous, but it's not very well ADA accessible if I do it that way, so I'll have to have some sort of, we'll regroup at that point if everything falls apart.
Could you shift some of the parking from the west to the east side, just so that reduces a little bit of the traffic on the west side? I don't know, space wise, if you could, you'd have to rearrange, but.
Yeah, space wise, it would be kind of tough to do that. Originally, we had this as a one-way, and we actually gained parking spots by making it a two-way. It was just angled parking, and we lost a lot of parking doing it that way. So making it two-way works. There will be the food truck parking, so that can add or take away from some of the parking, depending on if we have food trucks. There's food truck parking here, and there's planned to be somewhere up space for food trucks back here in the back.
Yeah, question, I feel like I'm being selfish here about the question.
That's all we got.
So if everything goes south, this doesn't work, you don't have the entrance to Gluckstadt Way, will we have to circle back and say, hey, this is what we're proposing?
We would have to do a site plan.
Okay.
We would have to-
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure, just.
Yeah, so with a lot of this being preliminary as well, but what this does, it helps us get further along in engineering and in the bid process.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern is just like the amount of time.
Yeah, site plan amendment would be justified to, if we had to really punt the entrance, but we feel pretty confident about it.
We have some deadlines, so the
Okay.
most money that's for the construction of the park has to be spent by spring of 2028.
Okay.
The playground has to be built by October 2027.
So we have to get credit.
We have to phase the construction of it, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to go ahead and have it here. We're hoping to have a construction set of plans by July, whenever we have the
We're really close.
So as far as the conditional use goes, because we'll discuss the site plan
Yep.
again in just a moment. So for the conditional use, do we have,
Other things are, well, we covered ingress, egress, parking, refuse, trash, dumpster. What's the setup there?
That is not shown on here, but there will be a dumpster access, I'm thinking right here. And there will be trash receptacles
Around.
throughout, yes. We plan to have benches along the walking trail. We're looking to maybe have some donations, some businesses or something like that.
I
Donate some
think-
benches, we'll have trash receptacles.
I think we want to be careful with the dumpster too. We don't want to
encourage
allow
people
people
dumping?
to say, hey, let's swing over the park and throw this.
Yeah.
So,
But our guys will be
Or don't.
maintenance of the
Yeah,
park.
that's right.
We will have a crew that's
anything
dedicated to the park facility and city facility. So PD,
Yeah.
City Hall, Public Works, that crew will have, this will be the only things that they gotta deal with.
Okay.
So trash will be cleaned up constantly.
And you got a spot to put it on, so it's just not sure.
Yeah.
Other ones, utilities, I did see somewhere in there, they'd have to run some new utilities
We
for
will have
lighting and stuff.
There are no utilities to the site at this time. We're gonna have to run all of it. So we'll run utilities from here to the restroom, which the restroom's right here. It will be moved up to here for spacing, but that feels a little junior. We talked about that site plan. But the utilities will have to come through either along the road and in, or get an easement for these lots to be able to use and have water and sewer ran on the backside.
And that's the one restroom will be on the east side.
There will be one here, and then we will have restrooms inside the pavilion as well.
The park has a splash pad too, so we don't have to have water.
That'll be awesome. The one at Liberty gets used constantly.
Yeah,
So it'll be.
That was one of Blue Cross's requirements.
Yeah, they really want a splash pad. We really want a splash pad. It's gonna be hard to keep my guys out. Get done.
Yeah, when it gets hot. Where'd everybody go? I'll sign up for park duty. Screening, you mentioned leaving the trees on the west side. I guess we don't have a full landscape plan. Will we be planting new vegetation around?
There will be vegetation around the pavilion area. We plan on this area being turf. Of course, in the playground, that's gonna be rubber and turf. We really want this area right here and right here to be four season. Whether it rains, sleet, snow, shine, if we have an event, we can still have that event and not have to worry about everybody being muddy, worry about anything, having issues right there. I don't have to shut down the playground while my guys weed eat, or we're throwing rocks or anything, or cutting grass. We can keep it where these areas are meant to be utilized at all times. And there will be landscaping. I know for sure around the bathroom, and there will be random landscaping around these fitness areas right here. Other than that, we're looking to grass a lot of this and keep it sloped all through here. Maybe have a few trees out here along Calvin Station Parkway. I do not know the type of stuff. Right?
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Did I have anyone that was here to speak in opposition of this conditional use? Okay. So at this time, I'll close the public hearing. And do I have a motion to either approve or deny the conditional use for this part?
I'll move that we approve the conditional use.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, and so we can move back into the site plan and address some of the concerns that that were proposed. So did we want to put any, hey, did you have anything else with the site plan that you'd like to share?
No, I mean, we separated the areas along with the playground and the fitness area. We separated trying to do it by age group and accessibility. This is very ADA compliant playground area and as well up here. And everybody is trying to give everybody something to do within the park. The stage area, while it's listed as stage there, it's not an amphitheater. So we had it listed as amphitheater at first. We had to change that to stage because the parking requirements got bigger for an amphitheater if I had Taylor Swift coming or anything like that. So, but it's just a small stage. We're looking just to have something local bands. If the high school choir wants to come, the band wants to do anything like that, they'll have an area. It's meant, this area right here is meant to be a turf terrace. So it'll stair step down so that they're playing into it. One, that helps keep the sound coming back down on them, keeps it from going all the way to Church Road. That's another reason why we're keeping all those trees over there to keep the sound down as much as possible. I don't think we'll be having any late night events here, but we will have, some singing in a band at times. This pavilion is meant to be an open air pavilion. Casey helped with a little bit of the design on that. We tried to get the new ARC standards to be kind of developed in this pavilion area as well as the bathroom area. So we're still working on the plan for that. That is the only part that is not funded yet, but we are working on that. We're working on getting an architect to design some plans.
You probably can't tell, but the majority, especially the south side of the lake, around the pavilion is going to be a blocked CMU, or not CMU, a blocked retaining wall.
That's ready.
Right. It's going to look really good.
So first phase, what we're looking to do with the most money in the construction portion is pretty much from right here, the Ready Rock seawall all the way around over to here. The pond will have to be mucked out. We'll use a lot of the spoils up here to try to bring the lake up. This park is designed, and one of the reasons we got to put the seawall is during the different flood events. This lake is meant to 100% contain the area from Mac Kayak all the way down. So we're designing it so that it can expand up and come back down all the way up to the pressure wash. The sidewalk to keep it clean, nothing gets ruined. We can handle the flood water whenever it comes up. We will redo the weir system that comes out right now. Right now it's meant to hold nothing. Ron Master is running hydraulics right now to get it to where we can hold a pool of, 3 or 4 feet. Right now, a beaver is doing the science experiments for us, and it's been holding very well. We've been very pleased with what it's held. If we have rain events like we will with the weir system, we go take 2 feet out of the top of it. It empties out when rain comes, and it still has not risen with all the rain that we've had so far. So now beaver dam is risen back up because he's trying to stop it up. But we do look to get this ditch that comes in will wind up being underground. We'll do a culvert system right there, and that way we don't really have to do a bridge right there. The roundabouts are meant as parking as well as kind of a small design feature, and it is better shown here as kind of what we're thinking of doing because that we got a little move. Any questions about it? I could talk all day about it. It's a passion project.
Did y'all look into like a fenced dog park area at all?
We did not at first. I have had some questions about it. If we can in the future, we could do a phase 2. Right now, there's no real way to do it without getting rid of the community event space. But in the future, we can look into that. I just can't guarantee it right now.
Hey, go back to the conceptual real quick. Is there room in between that, the hiking trail on the north side?
Here.
Create a little fenced-in area for it?
I will say this loop that comes down right here in dealing with the flood stages, we're gonna have it come just on this north side and come around to get the half mile that Blue Cross has funded. And then this that comes down, we look to do in a future phase and do landscape beds, flower beds, memorial beds, something like that to come down here and be able to landscape that north pond. But that's where our spoils are coming to help with that dirt back there.
Does Dean Oblin need all that lay down back there?
I think Callaway still owns the southern part of that lot.
Yeah, we think that.
So it
We
might be
can talk
something to
about it.
discuss, yeah.
I don't know if they'll let me purchase any land right now.
Yeah, got your share. Bike racks, another thing I had down. That's pretty small, but just trying to increase the multimodality.
Tell them about the kayaks.
There is a kayak launch that's meant to be here for simple recreational access. I think we will allow fishing at first, but if it turns out the way it turned out when we first got the property, we're gonna stop fishing because we started seeing a lot of debris. I've got 2 tackle boxes, people just leaving stuff around, and we don't want this to get trashed.
Right, I said bike racks. I did want to ask about kayaks too, but
Right now, I think it's just gonna be a walking trail. It's not gonna be.
well, I mean, more for people to bike to the park and then
I don't have one for right now, but that's not to say we can't do that.
probably can get
I
some.
think
grant
that's a
money
very
for those
easy
too,
thing
I
to
think,
get.
to add on later.
That would be, I think that's a good
There'll be ample room to put
Yeah.
maybe one on both sides and probably get a bike shop to donate too.
Mhm. Yeah, we got one.
idea. Any other questions?
This is just more general, but I know we're limited on space here. We talked about maybe one day looking at expansion. I guess how does this project tie in with a future like baseball, soccer fields, pickleball, tennis, whatever, any other future development that the city's
This
trying to
won't,
do?
because it's not recreational, it's more community events. We might have some recreational land down the road where it's better suited for baseball and soccer. What this does is gives us a destination. So right now, we can't do a multi-use trail grant on Calvin Station Parkway, Gluckstadt Way, anywhere in the city
Need
because
something to
we don't
connect
have a
to.
destination. What this does is able to get a destination to the high school. We could go down Strickland Extension and put a multi-use trail. We could go down Calhoun Station to Gluckstadt Road. Gluckstadt Road gets a little tricky because we don't have a lot of right of way right there, but maybe one day we can have a multi-use trail going down through there. This opens up a lot more of that for us that we desperately need.
I think it looks great.
That's
I'm
exciting.
excited.
I do have one more question. I hate you. You're gonna go, Chris. Okay, so if the one way that you're talking about, if we get this, you'll still have the entrance on Church Road for fire and
Fire and maintenance.
fire maintenance.
Life safety.
It'll be closed 99% of the time.
Well,
You're gonna like you'll minimize, that's where it's like kind of one way in, one way out, like it's not gonna
yeah,
be a
it's
huge
gonna be very
entrance.
small.
And there'll be a separate pedestrian, so for people who live on Church Road,
If they wanted to walk.
if they wanted to walk there, they'll be able to get to there.
We'll have a sidewalk where they can walk around the gate.
Okay,
But keep it limited to where a car,
car cannot get through there, just the pedestrian, okay.
and then we'll have a ditch here. So
Yeah.
they pull in there, they're gonna deal with me.
I think it would be, you know, where Priority Your Bank is, where you turn to get to Old Church Road, is to have a park sign that's pointing you down Calhoun,
Yeah,
you know.
Do I have a motion to approve the site plan?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Yay,
Alright. Thank y'all very much.
thank you. Looks great. Okay. All right, next up, we've got, we'll open the public hearing for the, request for conditional use for Bear Creek Animal Hospital.
Yeah, so Dr. Jessica Moore and her husband, Daniel, are proposing to build a new animal hospital at 208 Weisenberg Road. It's right next to the CO2 plant and Seasons Restaurant there. They're requesting a conditional use because they do plan to have outside runs for the animals, which requires a conditional use. The building's approximately 4,000 square feet. And one thing we'll talk about in the site plan, I'm actually on the wrong page, is that this is a floodplain. So they've got some special requirements for this lot as well. They're going to screen in the entire back area with fencing. The outside run is going to be on this west side here, closest to the CO2 plant. And, but that's the first request, is to get permission to have outside runs for an animal clinic.
Those are going to be used for overnight and weekend stays.
Just for exercising the animals during the daytime. They would only be used during daytime hours. So,
Nothing would stay outside.
no,
I think so, just making sure.
yeah, very good question.
What type of fencing are you proposing?
6.5 to 7 foot,
Privacy,
privacy
wooden privacy fence is what we were proposing.
And I mean, good neighbor style.
Yeah.
Wood fence.
Did we have any feedback from the community after that?
We did. Mr. Woods next door called and commented about it, and I hooked them up together, and they talked, and Mr. Woods found him. He was the only one.
Is that the owner of Seasons?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was just, I mean, because they have outdoor seating and everything.
Yep.
Right.
It should generate more business people while they're waiting on their animal.
Okay, do we have any other questions regarding the conditional use? Okay, If not, then I'll close the public hearing.
Before you close it, actually.
Oh, is there anyone here in opposition of this, development? Okay, now we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to either approve or deny the, conditional use for Bear Creek Animal Hospital?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So moving right along, we'll, look at the site plan for Bear Creek Animal Hospital.
That's correct. So, like I said, it's a 4,000 square foot, facility. They've proposed 19 spots and per calculations, only 18 is required. As I said, this is in the floodplain, and if you know this lot, the pad is already kind of built up, but they will have to observe our 18 inches of freeboard. And we have a new floodplain development permit that'll go along with the building permit. So, right now, the BFE, the base flood elevation is right around 262, and that's about where that pad is. So he's still going to have to come up a good bit. And then in the back half of the property is actual floodway, so it's unusable land. Chris, if you'll scroll down or to that spot there, maybe up. There it is. So about a quarter of that lot, plus or minus, is floodway. So the only thing you can do back there is manage the grass and brush. No dirt works allowed. So it kind of takes up a good bit of the lot. He is going to have a dumpster pad with a concrete drive to it. The dumpster enclosure will match the building. He's going to have a gravel parking lot and back there in the back for bringing in animals and that sort of thing as well. They've got a really good landscaping plan with tons of stuff on the front. It's going to really make that little area look good. It's missing some landscaping in that area, especially with the CO2 plant there. So I applaud them for that.
Can you go back to the one with the elevation? The bright colors, not the elevations, sorry, the one with like the topo,
Yeah.
the different colors. Yeah, that one. So that ditch on the, I guess, the west side there that flows north into the creek, is that gonna be left natural? That's on the
Yeah,
property there.
It's going to stay a natural swell. The majority of pretty much from the building back, is going to flow back towards the floodway. And then you'll have a little drainage towards the ditch up front. There is a kind of a bushy tree line along the west side, and then of course the east side is going to be fenced from the building back. And on top of it, they did present to the art committee last week, and they if you go to the building elevations, the art made some recommendations to increase the window size. They made the windows taller. They pitched those awnings above those two windows, and then added some transom windows along the front entrance there.
Looks like they added brick on the center too.
There was
There,
there was some confusion.
yeah.
That wasn't intentional. It was more of some confusion with our architect from the image that
Kane had sent us a
Kane.
generated image. I'm not
Yeah.
sure where it
Yeah,
came
there was
from,
some
but there
confusion.
was stonework on it, and so he got confused and put brick there. I'm fine with either direction if y'all prefer brick.
I like the
versus
brick
hardwood.
personally, and I think that's where the direction of this area is going,
Okay.
so I think it'll be more
Okay.
compliant down the road.
Yeah,
But I do
I was gonna tell you
appreciate,
both options were fine either way, obviously, so.
And they did, Casey, they did take the lights off the two windows and added a light in the back as well.
yes, I think the modifications are great.
Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move we approve site plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Let me give you some sample back. So you don't hit anybody with it. Appreciate you.
Last up on new business, we've got the consideration of the site plan amendment for the Betty Shell Station, Highway 51.
Yeah, so some of you might be familiar with this. This is up at South Road and Highway 51, and they went through the process back in the end of 23, 24. Actually started work on it. There's a slab out there now, but due to some conditions out of their control, they stopped work. And they've since wanted to start back. It's been over a year. So we asked them to go back through, do a site plan amendment, go back through the process. Their conditional use is still good. We're just, we're looking for a new amendment on the site plan. One thing we've asked them to do is they do plan on having restaurants on the two sides so that they increase parking pretty good bit. And then they've changed the design some, but some of it at my request. I lost my operator. Bear with me, guys. And as you know, so there's this will more than likely be the last gas station in Gluckstadt with our 4,000 foot mark, and it's right there on the city limits of 55. All right, and back to it. So the landscaping plan is similar to what they got approved originally. Added some more trees and bushes with the extension of the parking up there in the north. And then they added that little parking right by the retention pond here. So we increased parking considerably, which I'm pleased with, because just like the Wingstop thing, when restaurants come in, it increases the need for parking. So.
And one thing we did talk about was they're potentially planning on doing restaurants in the
Two retail.
the two end caps.
Right. So the center will be a retail, the main gas station, and then you got, I think, Daniel, correct me, a 1,500 square foot potential restaurant here and a bigger one over here, which is 3,000. So originally, I added, just so you, to refresh your memories, this is what was approved originally. I think I'm going the wrong way. All right, so this was the original design here. So you see the parking was much less. Oh man, this landscape plan. And then here's some of the elevation. So I instantly saw the arch, and I asked them to go more towards the tower situation there. They have removed this little, per my request, to remove this canopy going to the building. None of our gas stations have it. That's what was originally approved. That's what was originally approved. Pretty much the same building, but now we're looking at this. And they did present to the ART last week. The ART made some good recommendations. It was originally in the tower, had stucco, so they've gone completely to brick. They raised the height of the tower, and they've added, Daniel, you might want to describe it, a more of a wood feature architectural element to the
Like wood truss out in front of it, be presenting the whole of the roof as a decorative, more of a decorative element, is what it is.
Which side is the front, the west or the east?
The east is the front.
The east, and out of face 51.
And the pumps are behind the building.
Correct, facing west.
Pumps are on the west side of the building.
These are the proposed bricks.
So that tower,
Color is stucco.
the tower is on the east side, on one side.
Gotcha.
The bottom elevation is the side that faces the pump. When you're looking at the back of the tower, which is beyond, right further back, you'll see that in the side elevations. You see the side elevations, the towers over toward the 51 side, the east side of the building.
Did we eliminate the stucco?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We eliminated the stucco. We added that window on the south side, which would be the one in the upper corner, upper left corner, and left the glass on the window on the north side also.
He also added these these brick areas for signs up there, because the first one was, this was all stucco and had some stone insets. Now we're all brick, and so their sign will go there.
Put kind of herringbone pattern inside those areas. Did it above each of the restaurant entries areas. And I did it above the canopies on each side of the tower. You kind of see a little area right there that had that herringbone pattern in it also.
And I guess the only two are the entrances on both sides for all three units.
Yes.
There's
yes.
doors on both
You can
sides,
get to either the east side or the west side. You can enter.
but not on the ends.
Not on the end.
So if you're coming from that north lot, you got to come around to one of the two sides.
That's correct. That's correct. There's no drive-through window on the building also.
What are your current calculations for the windows as presented? Is he required the 30%?
The old standards, yes. The new standards require architectural elements.
Yeah.
It could be glass, could be faux windows, different type things. That's one thing I mentioned in the art meeting. So
Yeah,
which
I
side
wasn't
is
calculating 30%.
the south side here? You've got a pretty big gap here. And one thing he mentioned, he doesn't know if the tenant wants to come in and make that more glass too.
If it should be restaurant, that back area would probably be the kitchen area. We wouldn't have type of windows or anything in the kitchen area. If there was less kitchen and more seating area, would want to put some windows in that side. So until I have a client or tenant going in.
This will be the side that faces South Road right here. The other side faces Kent.
But when you're coming over Sowell, you're gonna be looking at the entire back. When you're coming down 51,
You're gonna be
so it's
looking,
gonna be
you're gonna be
visible
looking at the
all the way
canopy.
around.
Yes, you'll be looking at the canopy and the back side of the building also.
Yeah.
Of course, the canopy will be in front of that. Go back to our canopy elevations. We're using the same brick with a little detailing on it, so they're not just plain columns holding up the canopy. The canopy itself will be so. The canopy, it's not canopy.
Oh, the pumps.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna look right, because that's the only thing.
Yeah, it won't be white, it'll be a stone type color.
That's right.
Yeah, I brought a sample of it. It'll be more of a stone type
Yeah.
color. Which you see a lot of it in brick.
Do we have any other questions, comments?
I definitely think the efforts to change some of the architectural are definitely moving in the right direction. I personally think the cast stone inserts or insets, I would prefer those to be removed.
I'm sorry, with the white movement.
The cast stone insets, I believe there's 2 on the back and there's 6 across the front.
Oh, the stone pieces,
Yeah.
yeah. That's easy.
Would it be possible to do the beam look on the back and the front?
Yeah, it's possible. Again, it's sitting a lot further back. I know you're looking at it straight on in this elevation, but the scale person on the ground is sitting way back on the roof. You'd see it from a long distance off. But it's something we can add. Yeah.
It's just a true tower. It's not running from the building.
Just a question. I don't know if any of you have any thoughts on that.
Just to mirror the front and the back.
the thing where,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that would be.
Appropriate.
You can definitely make that part of the approval, recommend to match it.
30%. Go back to the front, elevations. You see, you've got two window sections on the far right and only one on the far left.
Again, the back of the building probably is more likely gonna have, the interiors, would be either kitchen or coolers or those sorts of things on the back, so there's a limited amount of wall space on that back. I mean,
Well, the back's not facing the road, but I think she's talking about this, right, Casey?
Yeah,
This is
you've
the
got
front.
double,
yeah,
and that's gas station interior.
that's part of the gas station. I think there's coolers behind that wall. In our floor plan. I don't know if you have a copy of the floor plan.
I don't.
So if you, yeah, when you walk in the front door of the convenience store, when you turn to the left, there'll be coolers down that side of the store. That's what's behind that solid part of that wall. I can make an indention and give the impression that was a window that was bricked up that we talked about before, maybe, or an inset.
I think one thing for sure, we need to confirm
Copy that.
your percentage of glass, which I thought you had told me you got it on the front, 30%.
I did, but I don't remember what I told you. I don't remember exactly how much it was.
Yeah, I'm calculating between 20 and 22%. But I might be wrong. If you could just double check that. That's all.
Okay.
Comments.
Would you like to make a motion to include the tower changes along with, for the backside of the building, along with the, removal of the stone
Yes,
insets and
30%.
30% glass frontage?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this, so if this is the cooler system, can't really put windows there. Can we do like we did at Maverick, where we put a photo window or some type of different element there to break that space up?
Yeah, I think as long as it's just not blank, some type of element there would be helpful. Especially if you can mirror the kind of make it a little more
Other
symmetric.
What about the side elevation?
Yeah, that side in the upper right corner is one facing south.
So it'd be the same there with our new standards. It does not have to be glass, but it needs to be broken up.
Some kind of brickwork.
Right.
Or changing them, I don't know if there's a possibility to do a two-tone brick type thing.
Use a brick, a lighter brick or something like that.
Yeah.
Make it stand out.
I'm thinking about the Old Town, I think it's the Old Town with Ridgeland off of Jackson Street to the left. It's got a couple of different brick colors that are very soft contrast.
We can use a
Maybe something
contrast
like
brick
that.
color.
I'm sorry.
I said, we can use a contrast in brick color that will.
Just
Make
make,
the area.
we just want to make sure it's cohesive throughout the project and not just on that side. I'll make a motion to approve contingent on removing the cast on inserts, the 30% minimum, some type of articulation. Is that on the contrast in brick or something similar? Is that the south?
The south,
Elevator.
right,
Okay.
as well as the east, which faces us.
Okay. Mirroring the brick trellis detail on the back.
Christian did find like this is coolers. There's a beer cave on the far side, and then walk-in coolers here.
Okay.
So we need to do some kind of architectural element there.
Okay, so So 30% minimum windows percentage. Mirroring the brick trellis detail of the gable on the back side. Removing the cast iron inserts. And I think that.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And
That's it for the
now,
submissions.
now for old business, we've got the presentation of architectural standards.
Right, got one. Well, so I want to introduce this. Melanie and Casey have been working, Mr. Lee Sawyer has been working really hard on this with Chris Watson, trying to get these standards locked in. And one of our things we've been seeing with this gray area between the old standards and new makes it even more imperative to try to get these finalized. Our dates didn't work out. He originally was going to present this to the art committee last week, but we just couldn't make the dates work. So Melanie had a great idea. Just, hey, let's present it to the P&Z. You guys need to see it anyway. And I'm going to let Chris kind of go through it, but I have kind of thrown a wrinkle in the whole thing. And I want to present it and be open with everybody. Right now, the art committee has 3 members, and with this administrative and enforcement side of it, I feel like there's some redundant things between P&Z and the art committee. And one thing I've been talking about, one thing I would like to do, and I really want y'all's opinions about this, is I'd like to roll this into the P&Z's purview, site everything, as well as architectural review. Nothing's set in stone, but it's something I want to propose. 2 of our art members are on the P&Z, and but it's something I want to put in y'all's thoughts. We're gonna read through it, and then what I was kind of thinking about is calling a special call meeting. We're not asking for votes or anything like this. It's the Board of Alderman's decision, but I really want y'all's opinion on it. Are y'all cool with that? If you want to keep it with art, that sort of thing. But anyway, I'm gonna turn it over to Chris and let him kind of roll through this. And I do want to say, I've been sending this out to a lot of designers and other applicants, and I'm getting some really good feedback. Like, it's very detailed. It's pretty strict in some areas, but the key thing is like, it's some guidelines, and now we have teeth to like really enforce architecturally. So, you want standards? They're right here. Okay.
Do you have them memorized?
Of course. Well, it's good to see everyone tonight. So just to catch me up to speed, now I know Melanie and Casey are pretty intimately familiar with at least most of this document. Have you all as a planning commission, have y'all had conversations about this document concept? Okay, so we're starting from scratch with you guys. Okay, that helps me gauge what to talk about. Let's start with a 50,000 foot view, and then we will drill down from there to whatever degree of detail we need to. As you can see, this is a 50-page document. There's a lot of information in here. But the 50,000 foot view is, first of all, this document. There are details in this document that are borrow from an area that is developed in Birmingham, Alabama, community of Mountain Brook. There's a specific development in Mountain Brook called Lane Park. It has architecture and it's nice and it's compact and it's consistent with what Gluckstadt would really like to see developed as a little downtown area. So there's a lot of material that we have borrowed from Lane Park and have adapted it in some respects to fit some of your areas. The rest of this information is new language, so to speak. So let's talk about the mechanics of how this regulation works. And first, this regulation applies to what we're calling design districts. That's the map that has been given to you. That map indicates 4 or 5 different design districts that are indicated throughout the city. Now, I'll tell you that all of this can be modified. Okay. In fact, I don't know that any of you, well, I know for a fact that y'all haven't seen this particular version of the map until I made this brand new map that I made this morning. So these architectural standards apply by design district. We have what's called a village design district. Village would be your core downtown area. It is that property around police station, Gluckstadt Way. That's in green on that. And that is the most restrictive, the most stringent in terms of the design guidelines. Then the next area is the neighborhood commercial design district. And that is the area shown in sort of a light red. It's out Gluckstadt Road. Neighborhood commercial.
I'm looking at it. Must not be in.
Is that?
I was just looking at it at the order, like at the bottom you have village.
Yeah, it's not in the
Okay.
order.
Yeah,
You got
the
it.
GIS order a minute. I
Okay,
can fix it.
that's in alphabetical, you got it in, okay.
But neighborhood retail, can give you an idea, it's this area over here by Belterra. Little slot right over here by First Colony, up along the front, that sort of thing.
So then there's a highway commercial district, that's the bright red area. There is a service commercial district, that is the purple area, and then industrial district, that's the gray area. And then there's actually an undefined district. There's an undefined district because obviously these districts don't apply to the entirety of the city limits. They will not apply to residential structures. We're not proposing to regulate what somebody's house looks like. This document is designed to have some flexibility. I will point out in one particular section of this document it is headed as freedom of design. We know that we can't legislate exactly how every building should look and how it should lay out. And I wouldn't dare want to try to do that. So this document affords the developers and the designers and the architects and the people with far more skill than I have to have a degree of freedom of design when they design their projects. But at the same time, they have the standards in this document to follow, because this document communicates what the city wants within various portions of the city. There are some design standards that touch on some pretty obvious things, such as dumpster enclosures, which you can and can't have. Mechanical and utility equipment screening, which is pretty obvious. Those are things that you want to consider. Loading areas, how loading areas ought to be treated. Then we get into some more specific standards. I'm at page 11 of the document. If any of you want to try to keep up with where we are. And I don't intend to read this to you. I don't think you want me to read this to you. But at page 11, we begin with the village district. And just in essence, going by topic, we lay out standards for the building and parking disposition. That is, we want parking behind the buildings or parking on the street. We want the buildings pulled up to the sidewalk. We want it in what you would think of in a traditional downtown built environment. We talk about size and proportion. We talk about street frontages, but we include images. Okay, these images are pretty important because on page 11, that image, the top right image, that is a Google Earth image of the Lane Park development that we're modeling this out. And in fact, all of these photographs, two of the photographs at the bottom are from Mountain Brook. And the other two, I forget where I took those, maybe in Colorado somewhere. But we lay out these particular details. On page 12, we get to building configuration. And this long paragraph, we talk about the requirement to break the building up, and the maximum width of the storefront, and the necessity for storefronts, and articulations, and changes in the building plane, and how much that building plane should change, and having functional storefronts, and the utilization of architectural elements. For instance, the two images at the bottom of this page, these are both Lane Park again. And if you look at these buildings, that's all one building, quite frankly. But you see that it's many different storefronts, and it's a mixture of architectural style. And as we get later in this document, we define what these architectural styles are in greater specificity. We provide for a lot of details. For instance, if a block length is too long, we want the developer to put a pedestrian pass through. So if someone's in the middle of a block, if you're standing in the middle of a block right here, and you got to walk 150 feet around here and another 150 feet back to get to your car parked over here, we don't want that burden. We want to pass through, right through there. And whether that is an open air pass through or whether it's a tunnel through the buildings, doesn't matter. We just want the convenience of that pass through. Just little details like that. We address exterior finish materials, overhead doors. Quite frankly, the village district, we're very strict on roll-up overhead doors. We wouldn't want someone to put in a door and the use of the building change to something that becomes automobile oriented. And we catch them there. In these standards, the roll-up door cannot go all the way to the ground. You may see a roll-up door in a restaurant or something that, it's at a particular height off the floor. Among the finished materials, brick, painted brick, stone veneer, stucco. But at the same time, we give people some flexibility. There are many cases in this document where we have other suitable materials they can utilize if approved by the Planning Commission or the ARC, whatever you guys ultimately decide to do in terms of who has the authority over this ordinance. Page 14, we address with a pretty good level of detail roof requirements, parapets, and roof pitch. If you're going to have a pitched roof, the type of finished material you can use on your roof. And if there happens to be a canopy, we have architectural requirements for canopies. Quite frankly, we discourage that. Canopies, drive-throughs are counterintuitive to the pedestrian friendly environment of a real tight-knit downtown area, right? You want people walking, not driving. You don't want to put any you don't want a McDonald's in your downtown area. But nonetheless, you know, we recognize there may be, let's say, perhaps a small branch bank. There's in fact one of those in the Mountain Brook development, Lane Park development. And it's nicely done. So we create an avenue for it, so a very strict avenue for that. We allow for a mixture of uses. We encourage that there be non-residential uses above the ground floor in these buildings. Let's put some people in the downtown area. Ideally, it's an area where you want some retail shops, you want hospitality uses, restaurants. Well, let's put people there to eat there, people there to shop there. And that's a village district.
So for mixed use, would that require changes to the zoning ordinances also to allow that? Or how does an overlay kind of, or architectural standards, how does that play with, if it contradicts the zoning?
Interesting you should ask that question. In the back of this ordinance, conflicting provisions on page 49. I'll let the lawyers figure out if this is even legal or not. I haven't told you, but I've written it. Part H on page 49, conflicting provisions. In the event ordinances or codes or parts of ordinances or codes adopted heretofore by the city of Gluckstadt are in conflict herewith or inconsistent with provisions of this ordinance, the conflict or inconsistency shall be resolved in favor of the provision which would more closely fulfill the purposes of this ordinance. So whichever one produces the better design is the idea. The lawyers found that later.
Zach's got one.
I was trying to read it.
If that be
Clear enough?
In reality, I think we probably will want to make some zoning adjustments.
We know that's coming down eventually.
Yeah. All right, so next we get to the neighborhood commercial district at page 15, and it's the same concept. In neighborhood commercial, we address the same types of things, but not as strict. For instance, in neighborhood commercial, we aren't requiring that the buildings be pulled up to the sidewalk. But what we are requiring is that the buildings have no more than 2 rows of parking between the building and the street. So we do want the building somewhat close to the street, but no more than 2 rows of parking. This is on Highland County Parkway, by the way. This is building originally. But otherwise, the neighborhood commercial is pretty consistent with village. I'm going to say exactly consistent because I don't have it all memorized, but it's pretty close to being consistent in terms of what it requires.
Just want to point out, at least the 2 districts we've just talked about, metal siding is prohibited. And I think that's all the way through until we get to industrial, right? Maybe commercial service.
I think so, but in that regard, I'll take a side road here. I think what would be helpful, and I do have a couple of changes I know that I'm going to make to this document. I've got some additional photographs that I want to incorporate. I want to upsize some of these existing photographs so they're easier. I think I'm going to see about making a sort of a summary matrix of requirements by district. Metal side, parapet, roof pitch, just sort of a summary of the metrics, because it's, the question of where's metal siding allowed, you just got to go back and forth in all these pages to get to. But that is very broadly, that's neighborhood commercial. And at page 18, we get into the highway commercial district. Now, the highway commercial district, if you think about where those red areas are on the map, those are gonna be, your larger shopping venues, okay? So now we get a little, we're a little less strict now. But still, we're addressing the same, conceptually, the same things, site design. We'd like to cohesively design development site, taking into account any adjacent parcels. Let's plan it all at one time, if we can. It's feasible to do that. Buildings to be clustered together on the site. Future development be clustered with existing development that aids in pedestrian circulation. That's what we're after. This highway commercial isn't necessarily intended to be that pedestrian friendly. I mean, they're just, by scale, it just doesn't work. But we want to make it as convenient as we can for the pedestrian. Building and parking disposition, building configuration. Again, we're addressing the building. We have standards to avoid the long, monotonous blank wall of just envision the side of a Walmart building or a Kroger building, and you got 100-foot long cinder block wall, and it's blank and it's ugly and it's plain and it's not inviting. So we want things done a little differently, and there are standards in here to address that. And the massing of the building, the breaking up of the building. Again, exterior finished materials, brick, painted brick, stone veneer, stucco, or anything else that you all approve. Metal siding can be used as a fill material. Metal siding as a fill material is prohibited unless utilized as roofing material on the building or roof or awning or as accent material or unless otherwise approved by you guys. So metal can be used as accents, but not, you can't have a metal building. Again, we address roof systems and how these roof systems should work. I believe it is here in highway commercial, we give the developer a little bit of a break on the parapet. We require parapets around, it's a 4-sided building, it's around 3 sides of the building. The 4th side is screened rather than a true parapet. And there's, apparently there's a big cost difference. It's an important cost element when you have to do that 4th side of the parapet. I'll tell you that this process was significantly enabled by having Casey and Lee on this committee. People that understand the economics behind the development. Because I'll tell you that there were things that were in this document where that's a little too far, a little too much. Let's look for a different way to do it. Can we accomplish the same thing with a different route? And I hope that's the reason why Kane is getting some of the feedback he's getting about people being okay with the standards.
And real quick, we've got some really good language on roll-up doors as well, where they're allowed.
Yeah. They're regulated. I think they're regulated everywhere except maybe the industrial.
Yeah.
When we get into, let me check here on highway commercial. What did we say? Roll-up doors were necessary to be installed first on the rear wall of the building. That means preferably on the rear wall. If rear wall installation is not possible, install with a non-street facing sidewall. Roll-up overhead doors installed on the front wall of the building is strongly discouraged. You may have a design situation where a particular use has no other option but to put it on the front wall. So that's back to that flexibility thing.
I see you've got this cumulative design standard.
That's right.
For each section. So is that basically saying like we can pull a more strict standard from a from a previous section, use it if needed? Is that what that's for?
Well, actually, it says the developer can,
They can design to a structure if they want.
if a developer, for whatever reason, says, well, I'm over here in this highway commercial area, but I want to build a village district type building, then this says, go for it. Go for it. Okay, highway commercial, we get over here to service commercial. Again, it's the same thing, but the standards are lessened. Service commercial are going to be parts of the city where you've got your equipment rental places, your equipment dealerships, your landscaping companies, your automobile restoration folks, and various and sundry other tire shop, your axe throwing business, and so forth and so on. So again, the standards are not as strict for this district. We here in this district, I will tell you where the street face of the building is different from other facades of the building that would require wraparound. And in service commercial districts, it can use metal siding, but they cannot be on the front wall. It can't be yellow metal siding either. That's a pet peeve of mine.
What about blue?
But we require,
Blue's allowed, not yellow.
but we require a wraparound. Wraparound to I think 25% of length of the side. So that animal hospital building y'all looked at earlier, it looked like it only had brick on the facade. And if these were in effect, and that building were in the service commercial design zone, then they would have had to wrap that brick around for 25% of the length of the side of that building on both sides. Then we get to industrial. And I'll tell you that it is difficult to regulate industries from an architectural standpoint. In all my research, I don't find that there's not a whole lot of regulation. There are some site standards as to logically you try to put the most obnoxious elements of the site away from the street or away from adjacent uses like loading docks or industrial equipment, things like that. Here, we do have some standards for the building. Particularly, the trend seems to be that you really doll up the entrance, that you give the entrance or part of the facade or corner of the building really some detail with clear. I learned a new term in this: clear story windows. Windows that go from the ground almost to the roof. So we have a variety of requirements in this document that address that. Exterior finished materials in the industrial. We have things that are specifically not permitted: pre-stressed concrete panels, unfinished concrete block, metal siding, old type building material, street facing exterior wall finishes can be comprised of at least two of particular materials: brick, natural stone, glass, masonry, stucco, hardy plank, precast, textured concrete panels, or other material approved by you all. We have a little bit of detail on roof systems and some detail on industrial equipment. So now we get to architectural types. We get it on page 27. So for these for some of these design districts, and this is gonna make sense when we get to the end of our 4 different architectural types. There are 4 particular types of buildings that are specified here. One is called a Southern Mercantile type, grade 27. You can see the image there to the right. You can see the features of that. It's a masonry building, has the ornamental parapet, single windows, or particular window arrangement and design, and particular detailing, lots of glass in the storefront. I'm not going to get into all the details of all this. These are your storefront. On page 28, you can see photographs of examples of storefront treatment. You can see these are your smaller shops. Okay, create that character. But you can see just based on the paragraph headings, the various things that we address. Exterior finish material, storefront treatment, awnings and accent features. The one thing that Casey and Melanie, I don't know if y'all are seeing this document for the first time tonight or if it was circulated previously. We had talked previously about signage that went back into each architectural style, and I've added a signage component. That's number 5 at page 28. Spills over to page 29. Page 30, we have a second type, village mid-century. And just looking at that image, you can tell that building is distinctly different from our Southern Mercantile building. And again, as we go through and regulate the different features, I say regulate, really we're just describing the features of what a village mid-century building looks like, what it should look like, and its characteristics. Design consideration, exterior materials, and a signage component for that. And then we get page 32, we have a Southern Classic building. A Southern Classic building is really not so much of a retail building. It's something that is used. If someone's going to build a university, for instance, this type of building you find a university campus, it's more institutional in nature. If you look at it, you can see that it's a little more institutional in nature. But nonetheless, if someone wants to build this type of building, we've got it laid out here. In fact, if you look on page 33, the image on page 33, you can see that building, which again, that's a real building in Lane Park. You can see that building has characteristics of the Southern Classic. The 3 arches in the front, for instance. And then finally, on page 34, we get to the Village Romantic. And the Village Romantic is, I would say it is most clearly on point with one of the purposes of these regulations, and that is adding that German flair to this community, given its heritage. I think if we go through another page or 2, you'll see why that's the case. But again, lots of detail on what a Village Romantic building should be. Projections and overhangs and arches and storefronts and the gable end decorations and towers and store entrances and all that. All that's detailed in here. Signage is on page 36. And then we get to page 37. Let's put all this, let's put the wheels in motion. So where can someone build these various types of buildings? So in this table, you see down the left-hand side, we've got our 5 design districts. And across the top, we have our, you see, 5 architectural types, with the 5th being unspecified. Notice in the village design district, Southern Mercantile, required. Village Mid-Century, required. Southern Pasture, required, and unspecified is prohibited. In the Village Design District, they have to build one of these 4 styles. They have to build it. Unless they come up with something that is equally good in character, that just is called a different name, but it fits in. I'm not smart enough to know it. Somebody like Casey would know it. But we're going to get to a portion of the administration of this where you could approve that. Nonetheless, Neighborhood Design District, we require them to build these nice, particularly styled buildings. In highway commercial, service commercial, and industrial, they're permitted, but they're not required. We're not requiring someone in the highway commercial design district or service commercial or industrial district to build one of these particular types of architectural building. But they still have to build a nice building. It still has to be of certain material. It still has to be articulated. It still has to have the parapet where parapets are required. It still has to be of brick or stone or stucco.
Right, it reverts to the standards.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to comply with the standards. The types are kind of optional at that point.
Okay. Now move on to page 38. Here's where we're, aside from the signage language I mentioned a moment ago, here's where we're getting into brand new language. To give some of you the benefit of how we got through page 37, Melody, Casey, Lee, me, Chris, Kane, Christian, wherever he went. We have gone through word for word everything up until this point. So we're plowing new ground here. I won't go word for word, starting on page 38, unless you guys want to go word for word. I'll let y'all direct me in that regard. But we begin landscape and hardscape requirements. And if you notice, this is section 8. You notice under subparagraph A, these are provisions applicable to the village and the neighborhood commercial design district. So it's set up by how it applies to different design districts. And I will give you, in a nutshell, what all this language says here on page 38. It says that you've got to do plantings in the sidewalk, you've got to have some green space capping these buildings, you've got to have these pedestrian bulb outs, so an image to the right. You want a pedestrian bulb out, that's everywhere the sidewalk bulges out into the parking or at the street corners, things like that. We specify where those should occur. We specify the type of plantings that are in those bulb outs. We specify that there'll be plantings between bulb outs at particular distances. They don't have to be evenly spaced, so they're not evenly spaced in this image. It may be that, and we got some language in here to this effect, that if the spacing of landscaping can better suit the architecture of the building or a pedestrian crossing or some other feature, then that's fine. Space it, put it where it fits best. Foundational plantings. Talk about some landscape in the parking area in the back. And on the next page, we get into hardscaping provisions. And we provide some specifications for what your sidewalks have to be, what your hardscaping has to be, and patterns and material, and various and sundry things in that regard. Contrasting accent borders, and sidewalks of at least 5 feet clear unobstructed passage width, and things of that nature. Then we get going to page 40, landscaping provisions applicable to highway, commercial, service, commercial, and industrial. Really, there are no landscaping provisions that I have proposed here above and beyond the landscape ordinance that you currently have in place. Your ordinance that's in place, it requires a street side planting of so many trees at a certain distance. It requires so much planting internal to the parking lot, parking islands. I think no parking space can be more than 50 feet from a shade tree, and so forth and so on. So if you're happy with what your current landscape ordinance is producing on your development sites, then that's what you will have. You won't have anything different with respect to this ordinance. That makes sense. For highway, commercial, service, commercial, and your industrial. As far as hardscape features, I haven't specified anything specific, but I've noted the absence of any parameters should not relieve the development, incorporating well-designed hardscape features into the development where appropriate. Now, if you want more, we can talk about it. We can add more. Okay? I touch on railings, walls, patios, and other outdoor spaces. Just provide a few parameters here for steps, ramps, and walkways. Type of material, vertical edges over 6 inches. I've suggested that if there's a vertical edge over 6 inches tall, you don't leave it as plain gray concrete. That it be finished with something consistent with the building. Concrete's handy, but it's not pretty when it's in the wrong place. Okay. Then on page 41, we get into miscellaneous design elements. Part A, utility placement. And in essence, what this says is we'd like underground instead of overhead. And these two images provide a pretty good comparison. I got to tell you the coolest thing in the world. These two images I generated in about 3 minutes with AI. Seriously. I didn't give it an image to work with. I just gave it the parameters. And it produced those. Part B, public art. That's something we never talked about in our art meetings. But I have provided some parameters for public art. I think public art's important. It's a big deal for a lot of communities now. It's an asset to the community.
Chris, we do need to do a 5 on that public art. Could just legally obscene material.
Okay.
Because one's definition of vulgar is not everybody's definition.
Good.
Must have come across this.
There's a lot of cases on that.
Spot that one quick.
And how to tell if something is legally obscene, the Supreme Court of the United States says you'll know when you see it.
Real helpful.
Yep. All right, so we got some pictures of public art there. Then I touch on exterior lighting standards. And the meat of this is on page 43. We have a little array of differing street lighting types. And you can look at it's pretty obvious. You look at the picture and you can tell which ones are more industrial in nature and which ones are more pedestrian friendly in nature. So let's see where we actually are. So we said, I think in paragraph number 5 up there, street lighting fixtures, uniform traffic development, design portion characters, proposed development, figure 38 indicates the set of street light fixtures and their appropriateness based on neighborhood character. And then I describe what's on the left, what's on the right of the image. So I'm not saying, I haven't said you've got to use this particular type of fixture. I don't know if you want to go that far, but that's something you can tell me if you do.
I will say, we had talked with with a couple lighting companies. And we possibly gonna choose a couple of styles to where they will use mainly within these districts. But go ahead and set that style. Trying to do something that's affordable, but still looks good with the German aesthetic. We're having to incorporate it into the park, so that's kind of how we stumbled into this, but soon we might have something that we can bring in. So.
Well, do you think you'll have that? Well, well, okay, if timing works, we can get rid of this and go with what you know.
Yeah, we can always do an amendment to it.
Yeah.
We have seen like Ridgeland on their own Jackson, I think Jackson Road or whatever. Jackson Street, they have started implementing that there.
All the way down.
It's been well receptive. They use it in the parking lots, they use it alongside the streets. We're talking with Alan over there. He hasn't had a lot of pushback with it. They actually like being able to do that. So
do they prescribe the temperature too for the bulbs and stuff?
that's something we can do on our end.
That's one of my pet peeves.
I do have one recommendation. But now, yeah, we would want to have one side, like, you don't want to have old style and then white here.
No.
But there are multiple ways to do the poles. We can do poles that have outlets, you know, if their street, we probably will do that just for holidays and things like that. We have the flexibility, but we would do the roadside to match what we are requiring in those districts in the parking lots.
So with regard to temperature, this graphic on the bottom right is no good. This graphic, I just realized it when I looked at this graphic. What I have suggested here in terms of temperatures, 2,500, 3,500, which some graphics I've looked at, that's sort of a yellowish amber light. If that's what you want, if you want something different, tell me something different. But this graphic doesn't show the bleed between the red and the bright white, and between the red and the tan on this. It doesn't bleed like it should. So this graphic says 25, 3,500 is red. It's shown as red, but it's described as warm white. I don't like this graphic. It doesn't communicate very well. Okay, page 44. How do we handle non-conformities? Non-conformities building that just doesn't fit these regulations. And this is, quite frankly, this is a real awkward thing to handle. This will become a little more obvious when we get further into the administrative side of it. The long and short of it is, paragraph B, what I'm saying is that if from time to time a non-conformity may be modified by building additions or site renovations or facade updates, remodels, or whatever, any such modification ordinance satisfy the requirements of building site should accept the application. The strict application of this ordinance to proposed modification of non-conformity creates a significant likelihood of architectural incompatibility. And that's the danger that you've got. Somebody's got an ugly building here, and they want to add on to that ugly building with half the building be pretty, half the building be ugly. And I don't know how to address that other than requiring applicants to seek to mitigate the undesirable conditions, not molesting the standard applied to the proposed modification, but by making enhancements to the existing nonconformity. That's what I have suggested here. That's what does that mean? There's a lot of room for interpretation in that, in terms of, if I doll up the ugly side of my building, well, just how far do I have to go to mitigate it, or to make it match, or at least make it somewhat compatible with the addition? I know of no standard to define that, because every building and every project is going to be different. So the best that I could come up with logically was let the applicant make a pitch. Logically, I know there's all sorts of folks out there in the world, but logically, if a person were going to add a pretty building to his ugly building, you really wouldn't want that contrast. We want the building to be uniform, you know, especially if it's a building where he is relying on the public to come in and buy something or eat or whatever the case may be.
Kane, what's the rules for modification of buildings right now? Is there a certain size or cost percentage that they have to come get approved?
In our ordinance, there's really not one, but in the building code, in the floodplain code, it's 50%. So floodplain substantial improvement is considered 50% of the value of the structure. In building code, you have to come up to code if you're adding up to 50% of the square footage.
So what about,
So
do they have to get a building permit even if they're doing less than 50%?
Yes, we require a building permit
For
anything.
anything?
Right.
Okay. So I guess,
And then-
so when would this apply to anything getting building permit? Is that kind of how we would then enforce?
So
this
as of right now,
non-conformity?
it's kind of at my interpretation when I get something. So, and what I've been doing, like the Hazelton Drive, they're just kind of renovating the exterior, wasn't adding on to the building, but I went ahead and made them go through ARC. I don't think I made them go through P&Z because use wasn't changing anything, that sort of thing, but it went through the board of Alderman as well. So it could be something we add here, and I've actually been thinking about that. There, in our ordinance, there's no 50% rule. My predecessor talked about it like it was kind of common knowledge. If you're adding on 50% of the building or renovating 50% of the building, you've got to bring it up to code, you know, and to the standards as well. But you also have a use deal, you know, if you got a conditional use applied to this building, you, the P&Z and the board can add any condition they want. Hey, we want this to be village standard, or we want this to be highway commercial. So there is some gray area there. There's not, for me, I've been kind of looking at a 50% kind of rule in terms of square footage. How much are you messing with this building? And so Chris, that's actually something I'm glad you asked, Phil. It's something I would love in terms of renovations. Like, so if they're just going to renovate the building but not add on square footage, how do we apply these standards? You know what I mean? We're
Maybe case by case
Yeah.
and what you can see from the
Yeah.
road and.
Well, let's put another dimension to this. And you can get into some real practical difficulties, but let's say you have a building, let's say you have a machine shop, for instance. And that machine shop is located in, it happens to be located in one of your more restrictive design districts. I don't think this is a real scenario, but there could be 1,000 scenarios. And that machine shop comes along and says, well, okay, we're going to renovate the building and we're going to add on to the building. And we got some language in here that says, well, gee, okay, you're going to add more than 50% of the value or square footage of the building, and you got to make the whole building comply with the village district. Well, Mr. Machine Shop owner, you got to get rid of all your overhead doors. You can't have a machine shop without overhead doors. And it's a metal building, so you gotta brick all this stuff. You gotta, in other words, transform this building necessarily to eliminate its use, if that makes sense. So you can get into, some real precarious stuff there by applying some of these standards to, very purpose-built buildings. So that's why this is difficult.
Of course, there could be situations where you'd like the machine shop to go away because it's in the middle of a downtown block and
Well, that's true, but
the
see,
use no longer conforms as well.
there's a method for that though, and that your zoning, so your zoning has a non-conforming chapter in it. And your zoning addresses non-conforming uses, non-conforming buildings, and non-conforming land. And what we're really worried with here are non-conforming buildings. And the way that non-conforming building gets eliminated is if the owner just, or if it gets destroyed, fire or natural disaster by more than 50% of its value, or the owner tears it down, or the owner modifies it to make it conforming.
Another thing, if we throw that 50% rule on and you tell them that, okay, I'm just gonna do 29% then. You know, so it is I think I've got to do a good job about telling them up front, hey, we got to do this and this, and then we all get together. We make the right adjustments for it.
So if we did it in the way the building code, if I understood your explanation, building code, if we put a parameter in here that said if somebody is going to modify their building by more than 50%
of the square foot,
and more than 50% of the square foot, what if they're going to spend more than 50% of the value of the building? Then they make the whole building conform. I mean, that would get you, but it doesn't get you out of odd situations that you may find yourself in. But at the same time, when we get over here to administration, there's a way out. Let's jump to this part of administration, okay? We're going to skip all of this stuff about what the zoning administrator does and what the planning commission does and the application procedure. It's, by and large, it's what you all are used to doing now with your site plans and your conditions. What I want to get to is page 48. Top of page 48. I want to do a little reading here. Planning commission shall hear and consider an application, taking into account input from city staff and applicants. No public hearing is required. Action of the planning commission shall be a form of recommendation to the mayor and board of aldermen, and such action shall include the basis. Therefore, the planning commission shall have the authority to recommend reasonable conditions related to the proposed development and to recommend approval contingent upon certain specified performance by the applicant. Likewise, you can deny the application. All right, now here, this is important. The planning commission shall apply a standard of substantial compliance when assessing each application. For this purpose, substantial compliance shall mean the application, including any modifications or conditions imposed, meets the essential requirements of this ordinance and satisfies the purposes of this ordinance and the comp plan for the city, despite the fact it may not comply with all technical requirements of this ordinance. Substantial compliance standard review is imposed in order to engage the provisions of article such and such, affording the applicant a certain degree of freedom of design. Rendering its recommendation to the mayor and board planning commission, we make these particular findings. So the magic is substantial compliance. That is different. That's in contrast to the notion of strict compliance. Strict compliance comes into play more so in the context of your zoning, for instance. If your zoning requires a 30-foot front yard setback, they got to be at least 30 feet setback from the front. If they're 29.5 feet, they don't comply. Or building height, or any other metric.
or usage.
Yeah. But here, in order to make this freedom of design concept work, then we don't want to say, well, if you don't meet every requirement, then you got to get a variance and run somebody through another process. Because the variances, it could be a whole laundry list of variances depending on the circumstances. So what this language does, and this is absolutely critical to the enforcement and application of this document. You guys reviewing it, you have to have very good judgment in terms of what looks good, and what, you got to have some design knowledge and sensibility, and not say, well, let's say the applicant said it was gonna look good, so okay, so we approved it. And then when you built it, it was horrible, you said. So that's important. But that's the way out, so to speak, if coming back to this non-conforming issue, if the requirement is too stringent, then you have that way out. If that makes sense.
And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not like the site plan side of things. When you have a conditional use, you've got to make your conditions known at this. The commission can make any approval with conditions on the architectural design.
Yeah.
Like, we approve this contingent on you changing this, this, and this, and this. You don't have to have the conditional use public hearing for that.
Assuming we're pointing to stuff in the ordinance
Correct.
as to why we're wanting changes. If we say we want it yellow because we like the color yellow, then probably won't work.
Right.
Well, I would note that on this page 48, if the recommendation of that is that of approval, planning commission shall make detailed findings as to how and why the application satisfies the substantial compliance standard imposed. If you recommend denial, you've got to make detailed findings as to how and why the application fails to satisfy substantial compliance. So you've got to be specific.
Zach, is that enough to avoid arbitrary and capricious rulings?
It doesn't need to be based on your personal preference. It's got to be based on the language of the ordinance. So like, just because you don't like the pink color, if pink color's allowed, you can't say no because it's pink.
So if we allow one building to have roll-up doors because they meet all the other standards and it looks good and it fits in with the city's layout,
Everything is still a
you
case
got,
by case
if you
basis.
deny another person's roll-up doors.
I mean, everything's a case by case basis, but if something got appealed to the court, they would definitely point, well, this building right here got to use roll-up doors, but I didn't. But if you have something backing it up, I mean, if you have a finding backing it up, then it's fairly debatable that it's not going to be arbitrary.
See, the thing you do is when you review an application, and you take the standards and you just go through the standards and you say, well, it's got this, the building's articulated, here's the parapet, here's this brickwork, here's this cast stone, and it looks nice, and the windows are this, and they're designed and stacked and arranged and proportioned, and all these elements that we've talked about. You go through and you look at that, and I mean, if the building is a good-looking building and it satisfies most of the standards, then you can approve it. If the building is, let's just say it's an ugly building, for lack of a more technical term, and it only satisfies a couple of the standards, then you'll be able to, in reading your decision, have a laundry list of the reasons why it doesn't meet the substantial compliance standard. You can have a building come along that is a beautiful building and it fits perfectly in whatever the development is proposed and in the design district. And for whatever reason, I don't know if this would really be the case, but it only meets a few of the standards. Well, even so, you can still pick out elements of where it does meet your standards and the other attributes of the building that you see that you can relate to what this ordinance wants and incorporate that into your findings and approve it.
I don't know if you've got language like this anywhere, but would it be helpful to have something that requires the applicant to explain why they are deficient in whatever spot places they are, or have to state their case for why they.
I mean, that's a burden that they've got to prove that they qualify and meet the standards of the ordinance. If they just get up there and say, I want to build a metal building and that's it, and they don't give you any reasons, well then goes against it. I mean, if they haven't met their burden. they
Like,
haven't approved it.
it's a lot of that's on me in the initial part. If he comes in and wants to build a metal building in the neighborhood district, I'm not gonna even bring it up. I'm not gonna allow it, until they at least start meeting some of these standards. And one thing I thought about too was I was going to require the applicant, and go back to the chart of what's permitted in terms of type. It's in their overview letter, it's like, tell me what you're going for. Are you going for southern mercantile? Are you going for a combination of the two? Give me your idea. So when we do get it to y'all's attention, we kind of have an idea of what they're shooting for.
So let me tell you this, on page 47, item number 10, in application requirements, a narrative explaining if there's any design deviations from the requirements of this ordinance, and explanation of how the application satisfies the substantial compliance requirement. They got to show how they got to explain how they comply. And Kane, administratively, you have the authority to make your application as comprehensive as you want to and ask for whatever information from the applicant that's beneficial to you. And the idea is to truly to ask for things that make your job easier, not just create a long red tape application.
And one of the most important things is being able to say, you must refer to these guidelines adopted, blah, 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 But yes, I've already been playing with the application some. Right now, it's a combination application where it's site plan and architectural review. Referring to both ordinances as they sit. But I don't know if this is the right time, but this is one reason why I wanted to try and bring all this under the P&Z, because the way I kind of look at it, I want to give the applicants, once they turn in their application, initial review, I give them their revisions or things that need to be added. By that end of that second week, they've got to have what they want to truly submit, and I want to email it out to you guys 2 weeks before the meeting. And then you guys can email your comments and everything back to me. I will get those together, tell the applicant, hey, this is what we're looking at. You need to make some changes. You got 2 weeks to make changes. And if they don't, it gets in front of you guys, they're probably going to get approved.
And
I'm blind copying everybody and that sort of thing. That's kind of one way I've been looking at it,
Well, and we had no art, for the whole first half, the city was around. And the issue we ran into was that we were spending most of these meetings talking about what color brick. And that's part of why it was split off in the first place, was stuff was getting to us, and it was, I don't want to say not even close to being good, but it was.
Applications were incomplete.
Yeah. So if we can catch those types of problems more on the front end, which I think we probably can definitely do some of that now that we're a little more developed, maybe we can do away with it, but that it has been helpful, and at least for me, as somebody who's not on art, to know that they've looked at it, and we can focus on the other stuff, knowing that we're mostly good on design. But I don't have to go to 2 meetings, so those of you that do, I don't know what your thoughts are.
And that's one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. And I mentioned them, and I don't think Casey and Melanie are down with this plan, but I have to see, I feel like more people need to be seeing all this stuff. And I hear from the applicants as well. But with them being on the commission too, I kind of wanted to bring it all in-house and that sort of thing. But I'd love y'all's feedback. Is that something you guys would want to take on top of your use, your site plans and that sort of thing?
And keep in mind too, Kane, the way the architectural committee ordinance is written, it allows for up to 7 people, just like planning and zoning board. So they can always add more people to it if that's an issue.
Right.
Because I know Lee, probably has to recuse sometimes whenever he's involved with something.
And we could move the dates of the meetings around too, if that helped with getting material in time.
I mean, obviously you gotta find somebody willing to serve and position on it.
Because we're not even getting it 2 weeks ahead of time for ARB to make those a lot of times. I mean, sometimes we don't see it until 24 hours before it hits ARB, and then there's really not enough time between that and P&Z, and then it's being pushed through, you know, with people at P&Z not being able to maybe see the detail, and then people here maybe seeing some different things or making notes or suggestions, and then it not being articulated or understood or passed back down for final approval at an architectural level, if that makes sense. So it's just being pushed through when there's still not architectural compliance or approval. So we're still having issues having this extra layer of ARB.
I don't think the issue is, like, there's not an issue with the extra meeting. There's not an issue, with, like, wanting more people on the architectural review. Like, that's great. That's wonderful. But this is a very comprehensive design standard, and with that, you know, whoever's on the architectural review needs to be familiar with it, and that requires some commitment.
So basically that responsibility would fall on everybody at this table, in addition to what you're already doing. So do you feel at liberty to make those?
And I do think that, like, the application process, like, that's a great idea to, you know, what is your design standard that you're trying to accomplish here? What architectural style? You know, you are submitting an application for a blank architectural district. You know, how do you meet XYZ criteria before it even, you know, moves forward?
And I guess I kind of look at it, like, one thing I don't want to do is bottleneck these submissions and we turn them into months and months and months of stuff. But I also kind of say that you guys write your recommendations, and then the board makes the final decision. And your recommendation could be, we want it to come back to us and look at this, you know, or it could be, this is contingent on this and this and this, you know. And I don't see why we've got to look at it several times, you know. But I do think now that they've got clear guidelines,
It should help.
it really should help them. And like, two of the architects, they literally called me and was like, thank you. I mean, this gives me a bunch of things I can throw at it, you know. And also I've got budget problems. I don't think I can get too many more committee members right now. So
I can
Yeah, but
tell
that-
you that we're not doing it for the money.
Oh, I know that. I know that, but I literally have the smallest budget in the city, you know, and so, but that's something I'm requesting next budget season also, but.
Most cities that implement something like this do have an ARB.
I think it is a lot to put on this board.
Yeah.
To do all of it.
Alright,
And I think it would increase the number that we are tabling and push them to the next month, because, you know,
It's not
Yeah.
meeting.
yeah, I don't want to be in a situation where we're having to write these real complicated conditional recommendations with sending all this confusing stuff to the alderman, where we're having everything redesigned in between our two meetings. It needs to come out of this body and be 95% ready to go. So the aldermen aren't having to bog down in the minutia.
And I'm thinking the month prior is when the architectural review needs to get it, and that way there's plenty of time, because he's got too much on his plate trying to get it back to them, make multiple changes. You know, some people can take something and run with it, and some people you have to bounce it back a few times,
Yeah.
you know. And
Like,
so-
I'm personally flexible, I can help dudes, like I said, that wouldn't be an issue for me, but my job is a little bit different. It is super helpful to say, well, Casey looked at it, and she's like, this is exactly what we're looking for. let's roll with it. So I personally don't mind helping or doing anything like that. That's not an issue at all. I just know that's not the case for everybody. I
It's
totally
also
understand.
extremely quick turnaround for like minutes and like written recommendations and those type of things. If, you know,
If
like
changing
last,
the meeting
like, well, like
dates.
last month, you know, when we had 8 ordinances,
Yeah,
you know,
long
and all that
meeting.
stuff, like, you know, we were scrambling to get everything drafted so we could get to the agenda, you know.
That's not fair to y'all, and a lot of these projects are turning them in at the last minute,
Mhm.
and, you know, we're trying to honor their time, but they're not really honoring our time. So,
I think that's the big question, like, if the system worked, how, like, you give them that, this is what they follow, and they get it, like, and even the timeline, I think it all be feasible. I think the question is, can we get everybody to jump in and actually follow that system?
I think there's something that's obviously gonna
You
come with
know,
time.
like,
So, young city, you know, I mean,
yeah,
there's cities that their architectural, you know, they come in, they see it, they vote it up and down, you know, they don't have to go through all the different things because people know that's
Yeah.
just what you're gonna do.
And a lot of the cities, municipalities, they literally turn the architecture over to a paid architect. He sees it, if it makes it pro standards, then it goes back into the
There you
city
go, just get
process.
you some budget for
That would be great. That would be great.
That's gonna be way more budget than what you're budgeting.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying. That would be great, and that would be a goal, but we're nowhere close to that.
Let me ask you a question.
We got one right here, city architect. There you go.
Yeah. I gotta get him to retire first.
I'm gonna pick on one of your previous applications on down in Austin, if I remember right. The applicant, they're gonna have a fence, a privacy fence of 6 or 8 feet or whatever they said. And I didn't see it on any of the drawings. Was that, Kane, is that on any document they submitted?
Yes, the fencing is.
Okay, so it's on.
It was on landscape.
It's on the landscape plan. It's pretty vague, but I mean, you deal with that sometimes. You don't, with mom and pop situations, we don't.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. I didn't know if it was there or not. So I'm just saying one blip in time of how y'all are doing business. It is important that your applications be complete and have all the detail on them that they're supposed to have. And, you know, Kane, that means you receive the application and you look at it and you review it and you say, hey, applicant, you know, you need to show us how you handle this, show us how you handle this. Ordinance requires that, and you gotta do this, you gotta fix that, so forth and so on. And let them get you a more complete application. And when you have that complete application, your review job is easier. And you don't have to ask, well, what are you gonna do about this? Or what are you gonna do about that? And quite frankly, I will tell you this, just as a technicality. But your applicant standing up here, actually Kane standing up here making the presentation. And if your applicant says, oh, well, all right, well, yeah, well, we'll change the fence type there. If that's not shown on the application that you're approving, and you somehow miss that element in making in the minutes, it's just like it never happened. A recent Marshall County case handed down from the Supreme Court. You read that one, Zach? Marshall County rezoned some property. The applicant represented they weren't going to put a convenience store on that property. And in the minutes, they never mentioned eliminating the convenience store. The guy sold the property to someone else. The new owner came along and went to Marshall County, said, I want approval to build my convenience store. They said, oh, no, you can't have one there. It's prohibited. Sued them. Marshall County lost. It wasn't in the minutes. Details matter. So you got to get, you need to make sure, and I understand it's hard for mom and pop.
Well, and I think one of the problems I know probably Kane runs into is they're always on this extremely short timeline.
Everybody is.
And 1 month will put them out of business if they can't. So we get pressured a lot to get stuff ruled. And even if it's an incomplete application, we feel like we can't table it. That's what it feels like. It is.
Yeah,
They usually don't start promptly anyway.
That's always the story. And I am a proponent of less government and less red tape and more efficient processes. But everywhere I've been, even when I was in Kane's position for 2 different governmental entities way back in the 90s. everybody was in a hurry. It was always an emergency. It's always, can we get our application in late? And, we got to get this going. Yeah, they're paying interest on whatever they've got borrowed for the project, but, they got commitment deadline, contract deadlines and dates and such that they're trying to meet. But, that all works out. Everybody that's in a hurry is not always in a hurry. And don't, for the sake of the future of Gluckstadt, don't sacrifice Gluckstadt because of somebody else's emergency.
Exactly. That is how I feel 100%. These buildings are going to be here forever. So we just don't need to be flippantly just approve this. And, we really need to put some thought and have some different layers of, if it's just going through Kane, then that's only one set of eyes. So there's the more eyes that you have on it, the more things that you're going to catch. That's why there's so many people on this, because you're going to see some stuff that I don't, vice versa, based on
Your expertise.
your expertise. But, if there's nobody on, mayor and board of aldermen that has design, construction, or whatever experience, they're not going to see what we see on the ground level. So that is a concern as well. And I think especially until we get the application and until we get this thing rolling and iron out some of the kinks, we either need to add some people to, or at least have a fully functioning 3-body person the majority of the time on park.
Well, let me ask this question just to try to move us to the next step. Is this body as a planning commission, are y'all generally, what is your preference in terms of the administration of this? Leave it with ARC, or it comes to the PC?
I would say to leave it with ARC if we can get the schedule worked out where stuff is not such a mad dash in between. I think since they've been handling stuff, it feels like things have gone smoother in these meetings for the most part. So that would be my vote, at least for now. Maybe if we start getting a lot better applications in and we're not having to do as much changes on the ARC side, then maybe we could look to roll it back in.
Okay. I mean, any other opinions?
I have an opinion, and it's that, I would agree completely that it is much smoother with, our meetings were so heavy on the design that, our P and Z meetings would go as long as they are tonight, every time. And that definitely has alleviated that. And then, also, we've worked through a lot with this and being able to communicate one-on-one with people when they come in, like, hey, look, we're really trying to accomplish this and let us explain it to you. And I think that it's been received pretty well considering this wasn't adopted.
Okay. You're a proponent of keeping ARC.
Keeping it, yeah.
You're a proponent of keeping ARC. Okay. Well,
I wouldn't change until we implement this and see, I wouldn't change how we've been doing it until and then maybe down the road you see all right, systems, whatever, you see some bottlenecking or whatever, I don't know. And then you might would adapt, but I think this is going to be, it's a positive change, but it's a big change.
Yeah. And I don't think that any of us are trying to have a handle on the control thing. That's not at all. So if more people could be added to ARC somehow, that would be great. People who are interested and have maybe a background in a relative area.
Did somebody say this gentleman was an architect? Maybe they recruit you on. Well, the point is that's 4 of you. That's a majority of you. That's the answer. In terms of going forward, it seems to me you keep it with ARC and you reinforce the ARC membership. and see how the ship sails then.
And not speaking for Casey or Lee or whoever, but I mean, if we need to reevaluate the meeting day and time, I'm open to that, if we could
That's-
accommodate
Yeah, what's-
applications more
That's,
efficiently.
I mean, I
What's the
hear
current
Casey saying
schedule?
we need it 30 days in advance, so are we saying they apply, say, all right, July 1st is coming, they apply. They meet, they apply July 1st, and they'll have one meeting in July. And then P and Z Board of Aldermen in September, or I guess August,
Yeah, so it doesn't even come to the P and Z until
until
it's been
late, until the
approved-
fourth.
until it's been
Tuesday of
approved by Art. Basically, they would have gone through there and then had time to make changes.
So we're saying 2 meetings of art before, I mean, depending, yeah, we might get a great hand one month where everybody's got a perfect submittal, but I doubt that. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, so right now, the way things are lined up, it's a 6-week process. If everything goes great, goes through Board of Aldermen, they can go into building permitting after 6 weeks. So, and I'm cool with anything, but I've got to explain these to the applicant. So taking July 1st, for example, I get applications. I will not even think about a P and Z meeting for the month of July.
Right.
We just do art. I guess however many times it takes in July. So that's 1 month. And then say by the end of that July, ARC is good. Now they've got to wait till the 4th Tuesday, which I guess we could adjust that timing, but we got to set a regular meeting. We can't just have a random date. So right now they're set for the 4th Tuesday. So then that's the 2nd month. And then they got to get through P and Z. So now we're at 8 weeks, plus or minus. Gets through P and Z, they got another 2.5, 3 weeks to go through the Board of Aldermen. So we're going from 6 weeks to almost double, possibly, 8, 10 weeks.
What are you saying if it doesn't pass architectural review?
I'm just saying, like, if we have 1 month, like they apply in July, it's got to, unless it's a perfect, if it's a perfect thing, we can go ahead and schedule it a P and Z, but more likely that's not going to be the case.
I
So,
think you still have your
As
P and
soon
Z
as we-
meetings if you necessary, like if you still have a conditional use, they just may not get their site plan approved.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like, that would be a perfect.
Or something.
It would kind of give them a big boost
The
to do
motivation
it
to do it
correctly.
right the first
Possibly.
Because
time.
it would save them a whole month.
Exactly.
Daniel, as
Leverage
As
back in the city.
recent frequent applicant, what do you think about that process?
If we're going to present it to the architectural review board first, that's kind of an overall view, you're looking at everything. And there are some items you'd like to see changed. I would think that it could go to the P and Z meeting then, but you only really might just, it gives me whatever length of time, maybe 2 weeks in between. something
But it
like
needs
that.
to get to us in time to review. That's the
Well, I
problem we
understand,
run
But
into.
it gives me some time to make the change. I usually try to make them the next day, while they're fresh in my mind. And give them to
But I think what Arch is saying, if there's changes, they want to see it again before it
Well, if
goes.
they want to see it totally, then maybe it needs to go back to the architect review board, but it's just specific things
Yeah.
that they spelled out in the minutes.
As of right now, how it's worked is Arch will make some, recommendations, and I try to reinforce that. And we don't, here recently, we only had that week, like they make those adjustments. And I agree, it's, the timing is the big thing. But they got to make those adjustments. But I think what I'm hearing is like, it wants to be seen again by Arch. Is that the case? or-
Let me use this as an example. Chris, can you back up to the gas station, the original design that was approved? Just as an example.
From years ago or from?
Yes, from years ago,
Yeah, it'll be the Betty one.
Okay.
a couple years
So
ago.
go down,
Be the one with
It's
curved
in
top,
this package.
curved
It is
top,
in
arch
there, yeah.
top.
keep going. It's after
I
that,
was just thinking outside.
keep going. Should be right there, right? That's the start of it, the original.
Okay, so this is what would have been approved and built. If there
24.
was no design district intentions to this point, that is what would be passed, okay? Through Kane, before he even came to us, he said, no, that's not gonna work, let's remove the arch. We talked about,
Different designs.
off the radar, just some suggestions. So there was, a gable or a pitched roof at the tower. Do we have pictures of the second one?
I didn't attach that one. It was like here, but much shorter and less steep, wasn't it, Casey? It wasn't as steep.
Similar design to the first one, but it was.
It didn't have a ridge on it. It had four sides, like a tower
Right.
roof on it.
Right.
Came to a point.
So just wanted to use that as an example. So Kane's eyes on it made an improvement, but it actually going through an architectural review before it got to us made even.
But I'm not trying to throw monkey wrench in, but that did go before a board and got approved.
Right.
Before the architectural.
Before the architectural review board, but it was.
That's the point I'm trying to make to you, if y'all know what I'm saying.
So Casey, correct me if I'm wrong too, so if like they came with the old plans, obviously it's hypothetical, and then they went to the ARC and the ARC was like, yeah, no, we want you to make these changes. If they made those changes, would you want them to come back to the ARC?
Would depend on how
Because we don't know what the
You
changes
wouldn't know
look
that,
like,
exactly, so
or
you're
if
wanting
that
to
was
come
what
back.
we were trying to articulate.
Yeah.
Unless
But
we
now we
put
have
our
these
eyes on it
guidelines.
again.
Yeah, so with these guidelines, is that what something like we can say, hey, this is what we're kind of going for?
Right.
So what if,
To get it right on the first
So this
step?
is what is ultimately,
Here's, just for example, that's what came through ARC. So it's the same sort of look as what,
So Kane had the initial changes done, because he knew that.
right.
that
So
was based on Kane's
Kane's
suggestion.
suggestion gave us.
I'll pretty much say get rid of the arc. Is about all
Okay,
And then,
this is what we ultimately ended up with, going through another layer of eyes.
Yeah.
So although that was in the right direction, so again, does this committee want the responsibility of making those specific changes? You know, is it 30% window? Is it, you know, we've weeded through all of this with Chris, so we're a little bit, we haven't memorized it either, but we're more familiar with all of this.
It's in depth.
Because we've gone through it line by line, so it just, again, it adds another layer of protection and extra eyes
So-
to make sure that it's up higher.
So this is the first time y'all have seen this version? It didn't come through?
No,
ours yet.
we saw it again, but there was,
I think I
it
sent
came
it to
in
them.
at the last minute, so there was really not enough time to go
Right.
back, so that's why I made the suggestions that I did today.
Zach, is there a way, so they keep the architectural board, they see it, they're looking at elevations and landscaping plan, which is the final phase of a building. Can the site plan still come up to the P and Z where they're looking at the plan and zone and site plan? Say architectural didn't like it, they make the recommendation to come back. Plan and zoning likes the site plan, they recommend the board to approve the site plan. Can the board then approve the site
Yeah,
plan?
architectural approval could be.
We've been doing that.
Yeah, so they could have, say, okay, we recommend site plan, but then it goes back to the board. They can continue with the build, they can pull a permit, but they can't get a CO until it looks like what the architectural board finally approves.
Well,
You run the risk of letting them start to build.
yeah, I don't think you let them start to build. At the very least, maybe the
And that was my
clearing
question,
and
if that could happen that way. That way you're not holding anybody up for 2 months or
What if you,
3 months if they can't,
And I
if it
think
can't get done
Kane
right.
has been doing a good job
Yeah.
of letting us know, or letting the mayor, board, and aldermen know, hey, this has not been approved through architectural. So knowing that it has to be kicked back to us at some point, even at the highest level, you know, allows them to continue through the process without necessarily holding them up, and gives them some wiggle room. But I think it's better to have it done and correct before it gets to this level, and that way there's no kicking back at extra things that are, you know.
And I honestly hearing it all, and it, like you said, everybody said, the exterior is some of the hardest things to approve. The site is pretty straightforward. So what if they go to P and Z first? You take care of your use, you take care of your site, your drainage. Meanwhile, we're working on the architect. Like one thing I would wish I could do is like send the architectural committee and we communicate regularly via email, not have to have the meetings, you know, and I know that's tough,
That's
but
what we were doing previously before it was established.
yeah, but I mean, I wish we could we could communicate weekly. Say, hey, look, they changed this, they changed that, and then we ultimately present it. You know what I'm saying? But it's all about timing. Like I could almost envision. I understand like architectural. That's one of the most important things. We want to get it right, and I understand the need of wanting to see it again. But like to keep it going, would it be possible to do P and Z first? Knock out the site, knock out the
only
use.
problem that I see with that would be a situation like we saw with Lee's new building, where they flipped the whole direction of the building. So had we approved the site, then their new building plan wouldn't have fit within the site that was approved.
Let me ask you a
Does that make
question.
sense? The motorsports.
It's the same as if y'all approve my landscaping. And of course, my landscaping's gonna fit whatever site I turn in, and then y'all don't approve my site for some reason, then I've got to go back to the landscaping again.
Yeah, change the site.
Get it
I
reapproved.
think that's too many loose ends for Kane. I just think they need to turn it in and finish. The application needs to be thorough. We need to see it, but give us ample time to go
Yeah.
back and forth, and that way.
And that's one of my problems that I've talked to you about, Casey, is like, I get it. I instantly research it, review it, and I find out this, I send it back. I was like, man, I need these changes before I even do anything. And maybe it's on me. I got to be more forceful. It's like, hey, this is just not going to make board meetings, which I'm not good at. I mean, honestly, I try to work with them, try to move it on.
Is there something we can lay out in writing that that makes it easier to point to?
I think it's there. I mean, it's at my discretion, you know, and maybe it's something I've got to get better at.
Well, I mean,
Just
it would
saying,
only
hey,
take
this
a
is not
couple of,
ready.
it would only take a couple of them that came
Word would
and we said, well,
But this helps
this
me,
application
right?
isn't complete.
Yeah, that's
tremendously.
definitely gonna help.
This new ordinance will help a lot. I
Yeah.
can sit down in front of my client and say, this is what I gotta do.
Right.
You know, if he walks in the door and says, I want a metal building right here. I can't do a metal building.
Right,
Right.
You know, I just,
Yeah.
just can't do it.
yeah.
I
But
can't
then
put
you
any
will
metal.
have certain situations where it may be
Compliant, but not.
compliant with ordinance, but not visually desirable.
So let me make this suggestion, or ask this question. Y'all are struggling with how do you see the application before we have to decide on the application.
Right.
Why don't you have a workshop? Why doesn't the art committee have a workshop? It's a meeting. This might get into your budget. But quite frankly, look, you're not talking that much money. We can address that. You have a workshop where you don't take any action. You see an application and you discuss it.
Yeah.
The city of Richmond does that. The mayor and board, they have a work session on Monday. I make the same presentation, go back on Tuesday. If they got an issue, I work on it, come back Tuesday, and if I solved it, they vote on it. We vote on Tuesday.
Yeah.
At their meeting, their work session, talk about it. Usually Tuesday meetings are really short.
That is great if it works. Some cities it does not work so well. Richmond is a well-oiled machine that Monday nights are about 20 minutes and Tuesday night meetings are a minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So if
Which we're not there.
Yeah.
We hope to be, you
That's
know.
100 something years in the city.
And then Brandon was, like he was saying, they have an architect on retainer. I turn my drawings in, they send them to him. They don't have an architectural review board.
How does that work with that doesn't have an open meetings requirement? I guess if he's just.
It's just written in their ordinance.
It's like the city engineer, city engineer reviews.
So you can review it at any time,
Right.
you correspond back and forth.
I would work directly with them, but
It's not considered a public body.
right.
Brandon standards don't look like this again.
We're not there yet, you know, but I honestly, and I was not trying to cut ARC out. I'm trying to figure out the best way to process everything. And to me, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like maybe we need to move the art meeting back towards the first of the month. And, I don't know, I mean, have a hard deadline.
Could you tier it, like, if it's like, obviously you got this, follow this, you know, and then like, if they get to art and it's like one or two minor things, you know, like, that probably would fit, you know, but if it's like, you know, I don't know where the line is, but like, if there's several changes, like, yeah, that's gonna have to be pushed
Yeah, and I'll
down
be able to see
and pushed back.
that upon submission. you
Yeah.
know. The other thing is like, I can also email stuff out, but you guys have full-time jobs and it's hard for y'all to look at something on a Saturday night when you got kids running around and
Monday
everything
night, I'm
too.
ready for Tuesday.
You know?
That's not reasonable.
Okay, you try to like re-engineer the workflow in general and the timing, like you said, and then like just going through emergencies in general. I've never bought a piece of property like this to put a building in and do something, but I mean, are they really waiting until 2 months before to get this approved before? Like, if I start next week, I'm out of money. Like, is that really the situations of these?
I do get some of that, now maybe not that actually, but it is all hell's gonna break loose sometimes. That I'm not.
And like I said, I mean, is that really the case? I mean, I'm just saying, like, I mean,
I think that might be true.
the veterinary, I mean, they've had this, they've all the plan, they've had this vision for a while. I would imagine, it's not like they just drew some plans last night and like, I need this approved this week.
Well, and to them, we've been working with them since January.
Okay.
Not necessarily on the building, finding them a piece of property, you know, and so
But
we've
going
been,
through this process itself, and to your point,
right.
like going back and redesigning the workflow on the timing of it, right? I mean, you said, I understand you want to get it through as efficiently as possible
Yeah.
and not delay anything, but having the deadlines, also the instructional guidelines of the application, like
Yeah.
with these type, you know, to your point, the summary breakdown and working with you on, or whoever, you know, going through and just designing and like clicking down, like, okay, you have these 5 options of this design type, you have these 5
Right.
options of this. Do they retrofit and mold into the designs?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just.
Well, one thing too, like this is so busy in this area, and Dano can vouch for this, our civil engineers and our surveyors are so backed up. And like this poor couple of the Moores, they've been waiting on a surveyor for 6 weeks, you know, and,
That makes sense.
and so that there's some of that bottleneck there as well, you know, so
So when it gets to this process, it's already been held up potentially for certain.
I don't have any client that walks and says, I've got all the time in the world
Right.
and all the money in the world.
Right.
You know, let's do a building.
Yeah.
But if they're running
Everyone
on that
walks
short of a
in, the first
deadline,
thing is
that
like,
may be, that's the kind of
what's our deadline?
client you're just gonna have other problems with.
yeah, true.
If they can't make
Again,
it
I
one
don't do
month.
that type of process.
But I mean, I'm honestly excited about that. If somebody calls me, I haven't talked to them yet, boom, here you go.
This is going to,
I think it'll.
this is
I
going to
think it
alleviate a
will.
lot of the pains that we're having.
But Zach, so my question is, if we keep the same time frame, the 3rd Tuesday, then the 4th Tuesday for P and Z, during the week, at least with the ARC, and I blind copy them when I email them, that sort of thing. But how much communication can we talk about without it being a meeting? Like, I know individually we can, but
To an extent.
how do Casey sends me something, then I have to relay that to Melody or to Lee, you know, like, that's not proper, right?
No, because like if you, let's say you talk to Philip and Andrew one day, but then you talk to everybody else the next day, you know, that's still,
I mean,
that's circumventing the meeting,
Right.
you know, because you're talking about the same thing. You can send them all to them, they can send stuff back to you, but if they can't reply all to everybody, because if you reply all and say,
That's cool.
I like this, I think this should be that, you know, that's the open debate that's, you know,
Right.
That all needs to
it's supposed to happen in public meeting, you know. You can send it to them, everybody can get their thoughts, then you come to a meeting. I mean, if it delays the building project, it delays the building project, and that's just
Yeah.
part of life, you know, sometimes.
So let me ask you this, guys. So originally the ARC meeting was around the 1st of the month. The Board of Alderman meeting is the 2nd Tuesday of the month. What if we revert back to the ARC meeting is at the beginning of the month? And I guess it doesn't have to be Tuesday, right? We could do it Thursday or Friday, not that we will do Fridays, but
What's the application deadline, 1st of the month?
1st of the month. And that's per the ordinance. And it usually gives me that, in my mind, that week, I'm reviewing. And of course, if it's just one submittal, it's super easy, but if there's a bunch of them, it takes me about a week to go through them. But what if that initial ARC meeting, we move it back to that first week we meet and then throw in you guys have your initial say. The P and Z is still the fourth Tuesday, but at least that initial meeting, we have a good idea if it's even worth taking the P and Z. And if it's not, we say, no, we think you need to come back from the ARC the next first of the week. I mean, it's still gonna be that 2-month process before it even sees the Board of Aldermen, but at least they're not back to back to where ARC's Tuesday and then P and Z is this Tuesday, 1 week apart.
It would give them time to make minor changes if there was something, if they were good to go, but they needed some small tweaks.
Right, and like, say by the end of that ARC meeting, hey, this submittal's good. I can get that on that P and Z agenda if we all feel comfortable.
And you might even be like, hey, if you want to be on this P and Z,
We
I'll
need
be
that
back in a
copy.
week or whatever. And
Well, that's the problem though. That's the problem. Like, so they make these changes, but ARC wants to see these changes.
Yeah.
Right, so they'd have to wait again till after that, we'd missed that P and Z opportunity. You see what I'm saying? Like,
it's really the same thing we should be doing as a planning board, which is if it's small changes, we send it to the alderman. If it's a big change, we need to see it again and we need to bring it back in the next month. There's no way around it other than having a special called meeting, but we shouldn't be doing that for individuals.
I would say prepare for the worst, but if there is maybe a situation where you feel like you can squeeze it on, but I wouldn't tell them that upfront.
City of Redmond's Architecture Review Board votes on it one or two ways. It's a minor or a major.
Yeah,
That's what he's
And
saying.
if it's a major project, then they'll have to see it again or approve it. If it's a minor, just a minor, say we're painting a wall or painting a door, it's minor enough, they won't even send it to the mayor board.
I mean, we've been doing a little bit of that here anyway, and so it's been going up the ladder. But again, we never see it again.
Right.
Even the minor changes to know if it was articulated and received and implemented as it was.
Well, they also have a form, once it's voted on and approved, that I have to sign. The chairman signs it and I sign it. And I'm promising I will make whatever changes was.
Yeah, does ARC generate
Built
minutes?
as designed.
Well, since there's two of y'all on the ARC, they get the P and Z and they didn't make those minor changes. Well, I mean, two of y'all on the board though. Yeah. Like if they didn't make those minor changes, they're risking just getting pushed back around, like
That
we're
is
just
a good
having
idea.
toe the line there.
So the ARC minutes, including those with the P and Z.
That would be a good idea.
So that way, as soon as P and Z gets the package, they've already got the minutes from the ARC meeting. So they see okay, we're looking at.
right. And I feel like I incorporate those into the memos, but the ARC minutes aren't approved. They're tracked. But, which is fine. We do that for the Board of Aldermen also, so.
Because if they weren't on the P and Z, you would obviously relay what ARC talks about, but we would have no official communication with ARC.
Well, that's kind of the whole reason why I brought it, like, since they're on the ARC, why don't we just all do this under one roof, but I see the arguments with that too, so.
Realistically, it's probably a moving target of where you're actually, find the sweet spot, you may find it. You start doing it where ARC meets the first of the month and P and Z stays the same, but you need to realize that you need to change it. I mean, it's easy to change. It just takes a passing of an order. I mean, it's just a resolution. You don't have to have any kind of special notice or anything like that. It's just changing it and publish it, so, I mean, it's probably a moving target of where that sweet spot is of what works the best, but that's part of being the new city, it's gonna take time to figure out your groove. But eventually, I think we'll figure it out and be fine. It just might take, there may be some bumps in the roads where something does get delayed a couple months, but, that's part of growing pains, but once it gets efficient, then everything kind of streamlines itself.
Well, and this is gonna help, but it's gonna make it worse the next few months because.
It's definitely gonna be a learning curve for sure.
We're working on one that we're gonna turn in the first. It's gonna follow all these new rules. But it's a renovation, so it's making it a little harder on to do it. I think everybody be happy with it. It's gonna be de-novel. Show you, but we've made a lot of improvements. Excuse me?
We're still on YouTube. So if that's,
Hey, that's not.
okay,
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
it's
all right,
probably.
okay,
I don't think it's a secret. I think everybody got it out there.
okay.
But,
Sorry, I just.
I just we're gonna be turning that in. And working around. I think everybody be happy with it because you gave them somewhere to go with, a direction to go with.
Right.
That's a big building, big opera building,
Huge, yeah.
big opera building. It's got metal siding on it, it's got to deal with. We're gonna add on to it, make it even bigger. And so there's a lot of things there to deal with. I think we'll make everybody happy with it. I hope so. But we'll be on
That's
first.
exciting, yeah.
But so back to it right now, application wise, and we can split them up, but conditional use, variance, rezone, that's all their own animal, but site plan and architectural is on the same application. Would it behoove us to split those up entirely?
I think it gives some context for architecture and for site plan if you can visualize what's actually going,
Right,
like, I
but
think if just a site plan came without
I'm not
any
100% sure
architectural
what all
work.
the application entails, but I mean, you've got a lot of things that you've got to have in the site plan, and
Right.
you got a lot of things that you gotta have on this, I mean, I think you could do it all in one, but.
You need to have, your architectural review also needs to include a site plan.
Yeah.
Because site positioning and site elements
Should have
are
a lot more.
Benefits and all that.
See, that's where in my mind, I just kept feeling like we were at redundant tasks, like.
I've probably gone to every board around here. So the board of Madison County, they just have a planning and zoning. They don't have an architect review. They serve as both, just like y'all were doing originally. They serve as both. City of Ridgeland has architect review, has a planning and zoning. Planning and zoning never sees the architect review drawings. Never sees the buildings, the elevation, colors, or anything. I don't know what they do there, because I ain't never been, well, I've been to it, just to change zoning, a good zoning change or something, but they don't ever see the building. That's how I plan.
So what is this?
They take
Just use?
they check the site plans and the use and stuff, but I mean, if they got,
Yeah.
if it's a black building, but like, only that area can be white, I mean, the planning zone is not gonna say, oh, well, that's
They're
gonna be white.
strictly looking at the site. So what, maybe like Chris brought up, what if we go ahead and try to get the site approved, but that site plan approval is contingent on final arch approval? Just to keep the ball rolling. I don't know.
There's not enough time between P and Z and the alderman to make those changes, send them back. I mean, that's been the biggest issue, one of the biggest.
Right,
issues.
but you could like say they conditional use gets approved and the site gets approved. I can go ahead and present that to the board. We have not worked out exteriors and architecture.
They can approve it contingent on architectural. It gives y'all more leverage on they're gonna wanna meet your.
Can't
You
serve
can
it.
send it, you can
You know what
send the
I mean?
site plan through P and Z, and then, but not necessarily send it to the mayor and board of aldermen yet until they've gone through ARC and make sure everything checks out before you send it for the final approval.
Yeah.
Because you don't want something to conflict with the site plan with the architectural approval. Because then you've got two different sets.
But that's why I'm kind of thinking like P and Z needs to do site, like Art doesn't, or maybe Art needs to do site and everything too, like.
Yeah, it all ties in. You can't. really
Right,
split it
there's
up.
there's a lot of repeating tasks there, you know what I mean? It's a conundrum. Yeah, it's super late. I appreciate the discussion, guys. This has been great.
So, if we don't have any other old business, we'll have a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Yes, did we have anything else?
Oh,
I'll make a motion. Or
Second.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we got.
Thank you for